Hello, Love Wrestling. It is Tuesday, Drew.
Tuesday?
It's Tuesday.
Oh.
Not used to seeing your lovely face on Tuesday mornings.
Yeah.
But it is Tuesday. It was supposed to be 10 a.m., but my computer had other ideas. But yes, today is the debut. Drew and I had been talking about this for a little while now. He had, we've been doing Firmly AEW for a hot minute now. We love doing that stuff. We're going to continue to be doing that every Thursday at 10 a.m. like you guys are used to. But, WWE, I've always kind of still watched it, obviously. Like, that's who I have been. But Drew kind of got out of it for a little bit. But it's kind of hard to deny what is going on in WWE currently. Like, they are just red hot. The stories are great. The rest, like, they're just at a level now that I don't think we've seen them have. I know a lot of people say it, but like, honestly, since the Attitude Era, like, I feel like they are at a level where they are just, it's crazy.
The trajectory has been crazy for the last 6 months.
Yeah, and Drew and I had been talking about it, obviously, with like beards and stuff. Like me and Pluggo, we touch on a little bit of everything, but I didn't really have like an outlet where we like specifically talked about WWE, and I wanted to talk about WWE more. And Drew didn't have an outlet at all where he talked about WWE. So I kind of pulled and twisted his arm a little bit over the span of the last month. Like, hey, if you're available, I think this is something we can do, and it'll be fun. And it came to fruition, and we thought, what week is better than following SummerSlam, which was a red hot, excellent SummerSlam. And then last night, WWE gave us, I mean, I know it's recency bias, but one of the best Raws I think we've seen in, I can't even remember how it felt like a Raw after Mania. And it
really did.
It felt like more like a Raw after Mania than the last like 4 or 5 Raw after Manias have been. It felt special. A lot of storyline stuff moving forward the last couple of days. So Drew and I were like, hey, let's do this thing. So from here on out, Tuesday mornings, 10 a.m., you will get me and Drew talking all things WWE here on Firmly WWE. And then every Thursday, as you are accustomed to at this point, you'll have me and Drew here for Firmly AEW, where we're diving in to those all elite boys and girls over there. So very excited about this. Very excited to be chatting with Drew for 2 times a week now instead of 1. It should be a lot of fun. Drew, how are you looking forward to this new endeavor that we're doing here?
Well, as you mentioned in that lovely little monologue, it's like SNL style.
Yeah, I didn't mean to go that long, but
comedy.
You know me by now, guys. I'm long-winded.
That's okay. I can get long-winded too. We all know that. Honestly, I am wearing the shirt that I'm wearing right now because this is the reason why I was brought back to WWE this year. If you've watched Firmly AEW, you know that for the better part of 2023, I wasn't even watching Raw, SmackDown, pay-per-views, PLEs. I wasn't watching any of that stuff, and it took. I was kind of starting to get back into it once Roman, The Rock had come back on January 1st. He had done his head of the table promo. That was like the big thing. Like, ooh, what's going on here? And then Royal Rumble came along. Cody wins, but Rock is still in the picture. That whole thing then happens where, gosh, I mean, I had to go to the Raw before WrestleMania here in Brooklyn because
Yeah.
I had to see The Rock for the first time ever. Maybe even, I mean, we don't know what's going to happen, but maybe I'll be able to see him again at some point when they roll back around this area. And just the WrestleMania, the Rumble to WrestleMania build of this year, you cannot deny how special that was.
Mm-hmm.
It was, it was like, I went to, for the first time ever, I didn't go to WrestleMania, but I was there in Philly during WrestleMania weekend. I went to the SmackDown before WrestleMania. I was at the WWE fan event that they had. I got to be in the Firefly Funhouse. I got to sit at the head of the table. I got to do all these crazy things that I never thought I'd be able to do.
Yeah.
And I'm back. Like, you know what? WWE, like the final boss said on the road to WrestleMania, professional wrestling is cool once again.
It is.
And in the WWE, it's cool. And I have really been enjoying this year. I really have. And you know, like I have like roundtable and stuff where I can like get into some WWE, but to not have like an actual show like this is why we're here. JPJ and I said, we want to get together. We want to talk about the really great stuff that WWE has been doing. And that's why Firmly WWE exists.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm looking forward to it. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. Obviously, SummerSlam was Saturday evening in Cleveland, Ohio. I was lucky enough to be there for the weekend to cover some stuff, have a couple good interviews, meet Pluggo, most importantly, for the first time in real life. He is real. He found out I am real. We are real people.
We will eventually meet at one point.
Yes,
I'm sure.
You and I are New York to Boston. That's not a far. That's not a far trek. So we should meet soon in person as well. So obviously that was the highlight. But we got to do a lot of cool stuff over the weekend. Obviously, Thursday night at 8 p.m., Pluggo and I will be talking extensively about our weekend and all the things we got to do this past weekend. But it was a lot of fun. Got to interview Bailey, my goat, my girl. We got to interview Bailey, Gunther, Braun Breaker, DIY, which you guys will see soon. Baron Corbin, who might have been he was one of the coolest people I've ever met. That guy, he was so generous with his time. He was awesome. He fondled Pluggo and I's beards. That guy was having a good time, and I was very hype for Baron Corbin. I was expecting him to be good, but he ruled. So I'm very excited for you guys to see that interview as well. You can already go over to Love Wrestling CA right here on YouTube. Don't do it now. Wait till after our debut show here. But you can see those interviews with Bailey, Gunther, and Braun Breaker. They are already up. DIY and Baron Corbin should be coming out hopefully within the next couple days or so. And then, in the future, next week, there's going to be a vlog put together. We took a lot of footage. We did a lot of cool stuff. We were lucky enough to be a part of a community event on Saturday, which was a lot of fun. We got to pack some macaroni and cheese for the community of Cleveland. We packed over 200,000 meals for people, which was amazing. We raised almost over $100,000 for the V Foundation, which, if you know anything about me, I'm very serious about cancer. I lost my dad to cancer. So it was very cool to be able to help out the community of Cleveland, do something good. Makes you feel good when you do good things for people. And it was very cool. And the access we got to the superstars that were there, Big E was there. I was working side by side with Big E, making these macaroni and cheese bags for like a half hour. And just cool stuff like that. Chelsea Green was there, friend of Love Wrestling. Bailey was there as well for that. Drew McIntyre, I got him to say some non-PG things about CM Punk. If you saw that little thing on my personal socials and Love Wrestling this past weekend, I got his last words for CM Punk before their match on Saturday and stuff like that. So it was a very, very good weekend. It's a lot of fun. It was a great experience. Thank you to WWE for having Pluggo and I. Hopefully it's not the last time that we get to do stuff like that too, because that was it was a lot of fun. Some cool stuff went happen. And we met like a lot of people in the wrestling media for the first time. I saw some people for the second time, but it was really good. A lot of people that are more veterans at that game took Pluggo and I under their wing this past weekend. And they treated us with open arms and made us feel like we had been there for a long time. So yeah, it was a great weekend. And yeah, well, I'm sure you'll see more of it on Love Wrestling here. You'll see that vlog next week, hopefully, and you'll hear Pluggo and I probably talking about. We're going to try not to talk about it the whole show on Thursday night, but you'll hear us more extensively talking about the weekend. But obviously, the reason we were there, Drew, was for WWE SummerSlam, and that happened Saturday evening at the Cleveland Browns football stadium in Cleveland, Ohio. So what we're going to do here is obviously we're going to give a lot of time to that Raw that happened last night because it was a special Raw. So as we go through the Raw, we are going to mention the SummerSlam fallout of the people, like kind of how you see us do on pay-per-view weeks when we've been doing Firmly AEW. We kind of talk about Dynamite, and then we'll kind of reference what happened at the pay-per-view with who we're talking about throughout the show and stuff like that. So we're going to do that. But obviously, the big news, okay, just in general, Drew, if you were grading SummerSlam, where are you grading it? Where are you grading it?
SummerSlam, for me, I would say B+.
That's fair. That's fair. I'm a little higher than you. I'm going to give it a solid. I'm going to give it a solid like A- to an A. I thought it was.
Listen, it's biased.
I was there. I was in the building. I was in the
Right.
building. Yeah, I'm there. So it's obviously going to be a little different. But I just thought I don't think we've seen a pay-per-view. I know PLE, whatever you want to call it. I don't think we've seen a PLE / pay-per-view with that much storytelling in it in a while. There were storylines like, you know, what have we been used to for a long time in WWE? It's like, oh, the build-up, you know, the last year with it has felt different, but like we're so used to, oh, the build-up was okay. Oh, it was all right. And then they get to the PLE and they knock the PLE out of the park. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, cool. This time it felt like the PLE, like this felt like the first time in a while that SummerSlam ended on Saturday. And I was like, man, I cannot wait to see what happens on Raw. I need to see what Rhea and Priest are going to do to the Judgment Day. I need to see how that happens. I cannot wait to SmackDown to see Roman Reigns come back and deal with the blood. Like, it just felt like a PLE that was very storyline driven. The matches were good, but this was not a PLE where it was like, no, we're just going to have bang or bang or bang, which a lot of the matches were. But this was a very story heavy PLE, and it made you want to be like, okay, I can't miss Raw. And I can't miss SmackDown this week because I need to see what happened because so many stories were told at SummerSlam. And then they followed up SummerSlam with that majestic piece of business they did last night on Monday Night Raw, which we'll dive into here momentarily. But I would probably give it an A-, a little bit higher than you. I was also there, but I'm a big, look, I love great matches. I love 5-star. Don't get me wrong. I love that stuff too. But the stuff that made me fall in love with wrestling are the stories, Drew. I'm a story guy.
I agree 100%.
When it comes to wrestling. And SummerSlam and that Raw last night hit me in every way that it could. Everything hit for me because of the stories and where they're going. So I would give it an A-. So obviously, we'll talk about Roman and that right now because we'll dive into it more because SmackDown's going to happen on Friday. And then next Tuesday, we'll have a lot more to build off of because we'll kind of know a little bit more what's going on. But obviously, the main event, Bloodline Rules, which got turned into a Bloodline Rules at SmackDown in Cleveland on Friday. It's Cody and Solo. Starts off one-on-one, you know. And then at the end, Bloodline comes out. We see a returning Kevin Owens. We see a returning Randy Orton. They're all fighting them off. And then we see, a lot of us thought and knew that it was happening, but we see the return of the original Tribal Chief, as his new shirt says, OTC. Roman Reigns returns. Superman punches Solo. spears Solo, gives Cody the stare down, leaves the ring. Cody hits the crossroads, retains his WWE championship. They have a stare down to end the show. Man, what a moment. Roman coming, even though we all knew for a while he was coming back, it did not ruin the moment whatsoever. When he came back, man, that stadium, so I was lucky enough to be at the press conference after SummerSlam. I was lucky enough to get access to that. And right before the main event, so when the Gunther Priest match ended, all the people in the press box that had to go to the press conference, we had to leave. We had to get up, go down to the PR elevator, and they let us watch the main event from the floor.
Oh, great. That's
so we were on the floor. Now, I'm a short king. I'm a short guy. So not the greatest for me to see what was going on. But I was just in the middle of it, right in the middle of the floor. When that music hit, you could feel the floor vibrating with you could feel like the pulsating of that stadium on the floor. And just that moment, kind of just looking around, like you saw all us media people, like just looking around in circles at the whole stadium, just losing their mind. And we were too, don't get me wrong. But what a moment. What a moment. That spear and the amount of people that were chanted that hoo-ah with him, like, dude, what a moment. Roman Reigns returning at SmackDown, Drew. SmackDown, not SummerSlam, not SmackDown. He'll be at SmackDown returning this Friday. He returns to SmackDown. But Roman returning at SummerSlam.
Yeah, it was, if we don't really need to get into the match itself because it wasn't really about the match. It was bloodline rules, which means it was going to be exactly what it was. We all knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
Was there a ref bump? I don't remember.
Oh,
that might be the only difference.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I honestly don't remember. It was just so Jacob Fatu also looking like just a beast again. And everyone was scared shitless, including me, because I thought he really hurt his leg. And we don't know if he really did or not still, but now the reports coming out are saying it's kind of
murky, a little murky right now.
But the second it happened, I was like, oh no, he hurt his leg. Oh no, hopefully that's okay. And he's in the boot and all. But yeah, I mean, it was just good stuff all the way around. But then continue.
Yeah. So, Solo. This I will say, because I gave it a B+ for a reason and not an A+. I have to say that I feel like this particular match kind of made me realize that he's not a great leader of the bloodline. He just doesn't have. Well, I have enjoyed the presentation of the new bloodline.
Mm-hmm.
Him, the dynamic then between him and Jimmy before Jimmy got kicked out, and between Paul Heyman and the new people that came in, Tonga Loa, Tama Tonga, Jacob Fatu. I've enjoyed him forming this group of savages, but he doesn't really fit the leadership role very well.
It's fair,
but I feel like he
is
needs
that by
a
design,
Paul
though?
Heyman.
Is that by design a little bit?
I mean, I guess it is. But he doesn't have the heat that Roman Reigns had facing Cody.
Well,
and and of course you can't compare them directly. So I don't mean to say that Roman Reigns is better than him. I mean,
yeah. I mean,
obviously
that's going to happen.
When I say it, what I mean by it is, I like Solo. I have no issues with Solo at all.
And if you watch NXT when he was down there, he can cut he's good. He is good at everything. Can cut good promos, can talk, can go in the ring. He's good at everything. I'm gonna let you finish, but I have a feeling I want to run something by you because I think I know why you're feeling that way, but I'll let you finish your thought.
Yeah. So I was watching this match and I said, there's points, unfortunately, in the match where you could hear a pin drop. And it was usually when Solo had the upper hand.
It was the beginning until the bloodline stuff started happening. I do feel like as far as the night goes, that was the quietest the crowd was when it was just one-on-one with Cody and Solo. And they were just kind of starting the match and it was slow play. It was slow paced. That was on purpose because they knew once everybody started getting involved, it was going to be a sprint to the end. Like, I understand why they play, but you could tell the crowd was, and again, it was a long night. The pre-show was friggin' almost 8 hours long, it felt like, for no reason. No matches whatsoever. Why do you have to go from 2 to 3 hours if you're not doing matches? What was the point of that? Anyway.
Well, we know why.
Well, yeah, but like, come on.
We covered that company on Thursday.
Yeah. So kind of like, all right, it was a long night, but like, yeah, you could definitely tell before the bloodline stuff actually started happening in that match that the crowd was very it was probably the most tame I feel like we were the whole evening. But to speak to you about Solo, I think they've done a really good job over the last month of really putting a rocket under him for heat. That moment where they took out Paul Heyman and then they gave him the necklace and all that stuff. And he started mentioning Roman in his promos and I thought they did a really good job. I feel like the thing you think is missing, a lot of people feel, and I feel like they could have done a better job. This is where I feel like WWE lost the ball with Solo, is when Roman was still around and the original bloodline was still there. Roman always looked at Solo like he was scared a little bit of Solo, like he was skeptical. Like Solo was the only one that Roman was kind of like, I'm going to keep an eye on this guy, but he's my guy, but I'm going to keep an eye on him, right?
Right.
But then the last 8 months of the bloodline, Solo lost 40 matches in a row. Like he lost every match he was in. He beat John Cena. I get it. He beat John Cena. But booking wise, he lost what felt like almost every match he was in. And if you're going to position him nobody was looking at Solo and going, yeah, he's going to take over for Roman when Roman leaves. All right. But if you're going to position him that way, there's more credibility in him if he was running through the roster while he was in the bloodline. So then Roman leaves. Yes. So then Roman leaves and Solo goes, well, guess what? Roman's not here anymore. I've been kicking everybody's ass just like he was. It's me now. But you have Roman leave and you have him dastardly and kind of, being the jerk that he is, move up in the ranks and become this quasi leader of the, a lot of people are joking around the Temu bloodline and stuff like that. But you know what I mean? He becomes this leader here. But if you've watched his Rolodex of matches the last year, he's 3-30. He has he beat John Cena. That was it. He lost to everybody else. And it's at some, if they would have done a better job, I'm not saying he had to win every match he was in, but if they would have done a better job of presenting him like a badass who's winning all this stuff and winning these matches and beating John Cena, and if he would have beaten Randy Orton, if he would have beaten KO, if he would have beaten these people, then he gets put up to this position. And I think in general, whether you like the guy or not as a character or not, I think in general, everybody would have felt a little bit like, okay, this makes sense with Solo being the guy because we just seen him for the last year beating the crap out of everybody.
Right. Yeah. I agree with you there, 100%.
Yeah, I just think they could have done a better job that way. We have Scott, we have Lawrence in the chat. How we doing, fellas?
Scott, by the way, earlier, Scott mentioned he's a 2-time cancer survivor. Which I didn't know.
Yeah. Proud that things, you survived, Scott. Things are going well. Both my parents had cancer. So cancer is obviously something that's hit close to me. My mom is still around, thank goodness. My dad, unfortunately, is not. But I just felt really good to be able to do that stuff that we did to help that. And I'm always trying to raise money for cancer research and just things in general like that because obviously,
So basically, what ended up happening was people cared about because we already knew what bloodline rules was because we've already seen one before.
Yep.
When are the people coming to interrupt and cause chaos and all that stuff? Like everybody's waiting for that, and it took a little while to get there.
Yep.
Well, once it did,
oh yeah,
then here comes Tama Tonga and Tongaloa, and then Randy Orton and Kevin Owens take them out.
Mhm.
Here comes Jacob Fatu. Fortunately, well, we had thought that Jacob Fatu was really injured. We don't, unfortunately, we don't really know 100% what's going on there.
Mhm.
But then, of course, we get the grand return of Roman Reigns, and so I said this on Twitter, but and I understand. Hey, Pluggo. Listen, this is a nitpick.
Yeah.
I totally get that this is a nitpick. I understand, but I just have to relay. Couldn't they have done the new music for him on Friday?
For Roman?
Why did they have to do it on SummerSlam?
You're talking Roman?
Yeah.
Yeah. He did have, I noticed, I was like, this is a new version of this song. There's more drums.
Yes. It kind of sounds like the WrestleMania version, like where they had the live band with the drums and everything. So it has that like more build up to the build up to the regular song. Because there's already that standard.
Yeah.
The beginning of it sounds like a build up.
Oh, well,
to the main
they said
thing.
that this was his Mania song. Maybe I just didn't notice it during Mania.
So but it was like, what the live band was doing.
Oh, that's right. He did have the live band with him. So, I forgot about that.
But that was the only time that I ever heard that.
Yeah.
And that anybody ever heard that. So on TV, they don't show the things that say head of the table immediately. Or whatever it was.
They did in the stadium. Immediately.
Yeah, you can see it.
And it was just like, whoa. All right. Yeah.
So people are popping like crazy, and I'm like, what is that? Because I was thinking somebody else was coming out. I didn't think that Roman was like going to come out immediately.
Yeah.
So because they were just like hanging out in the ring for a moment, and it didn't seem like the spot.
Yeah, they were both down. They were both down in the ring.
Yeah.
After some sort of move or whatever, but they were both down, and then the music hit, and it was just.
And so the whole part of the barricade where the screens are is cut off.
Yeah.
The stage is not being shown, and you just hear this music. I'm like, what is that? Who is that? And then you see they show the stage, and it says head at the table, and I was like, oh, well, that's Roman. Okay. Yeah. Couldn't we just wait until Friday to debut that music? Couldn't we just do the music that everybody's been so accustomed to for SummerSlam? Just because, listen, and I tweeted this too. Imagine it's January 4th, 1999. Mick Foley is facing The Rock. The corporation's out there attacking everybody. And all of a sudden, you hear some dubstep version of Stone Cold Steve Austin's music, and you don't recognize it in the beginning, and it's not the glass shatter. It's a totally different moment if you don't hear that glass shatter.
Yeah, it's fair.
So why do they do this all the time? They change the music all the time.
I do feel like they do change the music quite often.
And it's their own music. They're not even, when it was CFO and they were changing to Def Rebel and they changed all okay, fine. You're changing all the music.
Yeah.
But you're changing your own music.
Yeah.
Why?
I mean, I assume it's because of contracts. They can't use the old music because they're not working with those people anymore.
No, so Def Rebel made the music.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a little different. I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. The Def Rebel is changing their own music.
I understand why they're changing the music with Roman, because he's a good guy now. So he's not going to have the same music he had when he was the evil bad guy for 5 years. They're just not going to give him that music anymore.
You can get the music for the pop.
Yeah.
And then change.
But I mean, the pop happened anyway. It was the loudest pop I've ever been. I was in the building when Stone Cold music hit with Mick Foley. That was probably the loudest pop I've ever been in the building.
You were there for that?
Yeah, they filmed that in Worcester, Massachusetts. They taped it. It was taped before Christmas, but it didn't air until after New Year's Eve. So I actually
that was the 83rd week.
So I actually knew that Mankind won the world title almost like 9 days before they showed it on television. And they told everybody in the arena, they're like, hey, Like before it happened, they were like, hey, this is airing after New Year's. You're whatever. And they were like, we can't, they were basically like, you need to be good about it. You're here. You're going to see, they didn't say what was going to happen, but they're like, you're going to see some big stuff happen tonight, but it's not going to be on TV for like 9 or 10 days. So like, we're asking you as a favor, like, don't tell people. And I was like, this is 1999. I'm like 14 years old. Whatever. But like, but that they literally like talked before the show because it was a taping. So there was no commercials. So before the main, before the main event, they got in the ring and they were like, hey, the main event's about to happen. Just so you know, it's not airing for over a week. So whatever you see happen here, like, keep it to yourselves, please. So it aired, aired on January 4th, like you said, Drew, but they taped it like 2 days before Christmas. I think they taped it. It was either like the 2 days before Christmas or 2 days after. It was like one of them. They taped it either right before Christmas or right after, but they were like, this isn't airing for a week.
Said, December 29th,
there we go. Yeah, so it was 2 days before New Year's Eve. That's what it was. It was 2 days before New Year's Eve. They taped it, and then they told us, hey, this isn't for a week, so like don't spoil this for people. And I was like, okay, great. And then it all happened, and I was like, this is insane. And the Worcester Centrum, now they call it the DCU Center. They still go there. They were there for a SmackDown like a month ago. Very small, not a big arena at all. And that was insane. But yeah,
I realize 100% that that's a nitpick, and it probably didn't even need to be mentioned. But there was a reason why I gave it a B+. So
that's fair. That's fair.
On TV.
And Sandy's right. Back then, also, that made it a lot easier to do so because there was no social media.
Right.
So the only way you were here,
there was Dave Meltzer, though.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. And that is true, Scott. The Worcester Centrum is great for concert. My first ever concert I saw there, Korn and Rob Zombie. That's right. Let me date myself. But my first ever concert, and it was Korn and Rob Zombie in that building. Hell yeah.
But yeah, so Roman comes out. And I like that the commentary was like, who is he coming out for?
Yes, I thought they did that. I've watched it back with commentary since I got home, and I thought commentary was excellent all night. That 3-man booth with Corey, Pat, and Michael Cole, excellent. I thought they were good all night. Yeah. But yeah, I thought they did a really good job. And you had kind of Michael Cole asking the question, and Corey Graves responds and goes, "Oh, well, obviously he's here to get revenge on Cody." Because Cody beat him, and then you have McAfee going, but maybe he's here to get that fake leader Solo. He's been talking trash. So I thought they did a really good job of like, working it between the three of them. With Cole's the middle guy just asking the question, and you got Corey saying one thing and Pat saying the other, and then everybody listening is like, well, what the hell is he? We all knew what he was going to do, but like, what the hell is he going to do? Kind of thing.
I think they did it a lot better than the third guy, the third man of the NWO commentary. For sure.
What did you think about how they played off the Roman Cody side of it because obviously Roman comes back, he attacks Solo, Superman punch and a spear, but then they have multiple stare downs between Cody and Roman. At one point, Roman pointed like he was pointing at the belt, like, "Hey, I got business, but don't get me wrong. At one point, I'm coming back for that."
I think that was done very well. That's a stare down. Roman giving him a nod even when he was in the ring.
Yeah. I was gonna say a lot of people when we were leading up to it. And the question was posed as like, well, does Roman come back after the match or does he come back and help Cody win? I know as we were leading up to it, a lot of people were like, I don't know if I'd feel right if he would help Cody win because of their history. But that's exactly what happened. He helped Cody. Cody would not. The way that match was set up is Cody wasn't winning that match if Roman didn't come back. Cody even said so during the press conference afterwards. He said, I probably don't leave with this belt if Roman, and he said, I know Roman didn't come back for me. He came back to deal with bloodline stuff. But if he doesn't come back, I'm probably not sitting here as champion. So you felt okay with that? I know a lot of people were like, I don't know how I'd feel about Roman all of a sudden helping Cody,
I like it. And I think that Cody actually explained it really good.
I think that answer by Cody is what made it.
It had nothing to do with Cody.
No.
it had everything to do with Solo being a prick
Yeah.
and doing the things that he did while Roman was gone.
Yeah.
And Roman saying, and I actually saw not too long ago, maybe like a week or so ago, I saw the promo where Roman kind of anointed Solo as like the next head of the table. He called him like the prince or something.
Yeah.
And that was when like Jimmy was like really hyped, thinking that it was going to be him, and he's
Yeah.
like smiling and he's like ready.
I think a lot of people forget that too. Like when Solo takes over for the Bloodline, it's not like he just decided, "Oh, Roman's out. I'm here now." He kind of did, but they did have that moment where Roman acknowledged Solo as like a future tribal, like the future tribal chief.
Yeah,
Like
this was
I feel
after
like that
Jay
gets
was out.
yes. I
because it
feel
was
like
gonna
that
be
gets
Jay.
forget because it was supposed to be Jay, and then Jay turned left. And then, like you said, Jimmy thought it was going to be him, and Roman was like, "No, it's Solo. It's Solo." And so when Solo kind of takes the mantle when Roman's not there, it's not just like Solo just woke up and went, "Oh, Roman's not here. Okay, I'm going to take over." It's he did that kind of, but it was also like, "No, Roman told me that I'm the next guy. So Roman's not here, so I'm the next guy."
The other thing too is, and what I think they're gonna, I hope, I mean, it kind of looks like it's leaning this way, but you know, this guy, final boss, he, what I went back in my head and looked at on the road to WrestleMania was how, and especially in the WrestleMania match, so with The Rock, when he really got into this final boss thing, it was all about him.
Yeah.
And Roman was like there and he was the champion, but he 100% saw himself over Roman.
Yeah.
Once he got the full heel turn going.
Mm-hmm.
And there were moments where Roman was like, "Oh God, here comes The Rock," you know?
Yeah.
Before the match, there were like a couple of SmackDowns I remember where like, you know, they did a SmackDown where like Roman was just out of it and he was like the people were booing him more and he's like, "You know what? I'm done with this appearance. I'm out." And he's gonna walk away. But then Paul Heyman was like, "Oh, wait a minute. Remember,
the
final boss is coming."
Yeah.
And you could see it just like, oh God, like on
Yeah.
his face. So like that build between him and Roman, and then the build with him and Solo, because remember on the Raw before WrestleMania, he put Solo as Seth Rollins' opponent when it was going to be Roman originally.
Yeah.
So he was dictating who's doing what.
Mm-hmm.
So then the match happens at WrestleMania, and Solo is barking at Roman, like, "Finish this, get him," like in the way that he never did with Roman before.
Yep.
Roman ends up losing. And I think it was that night or the night, you know, we're going to see it play out.
Yeah, it's going to play out for us. Yeah.
However they decide to create the story.
Yeah.
But it got to be like after that night, Solo and Rock have a private thing where he's "Listen, Roman's out of here. You're the guy. You take over while I'm gone, and then I'm going to come back."
Yeah, and I think
big thing.
And I think that's what's going to happen. I do think there's unfinished business between Cody and The Rock too, but that's a kind of that'll happen when it happens type of thing. But I think eventually, however this plays out, we're going to find out that The Rock was the mastermind of this new bloodline, and he was the guy kind of running the shots from because a lot of this was Paul Heyman saying, "Hey, who," before they kicked Heyman out. Heyman was there going like, "Who's giving you this direction to go this way? Like, this is not how Roman would do things. Like, this is not how Roman would be running things. Who is giving you this direction?" And Solo was like, "Don't worry about it, wise man. Don't worry about it." And then he eventually was like, oh, you haven't talked to Roman? Well, I'm talking to Roman. I don't believe Solo for a second. He wasn't talking to Roman. Solo has been talking to The Rock. And the final boss has been telling him to do these things. So I think, Sandy mentions War Games in the chat. That's where this is going. I think we're all smart enough wrestling fans to know that most likely War Games is going to be Solo, Tangaloa. It's going to be the new bloodline, Jacob Fatu. Yeah, and all them versus Roman, the reunited Usos, and probably Sami Zayn. And it's going to be that bloodline and that bloodline.
And maybe we don't know where Hikuleo factored in.
Exactly. Hikuleo is signed. He can come back at some point. We don't know where he's going to go with this. I expect Paul Heyman to be here when Roman comes back on Friday on SmackDown. I expect Paul Heyman to be there this Friday with Roman. I expect Paul Heyman to kind of show up with him to kind of do that thing.
Yeah.
And
Paul
then
Heyman is a baby face.
He'll make it work. He'll make it work. He did it with Brock. He did it well.
Oh yeah, he's done it.
Brock had that baby face.
I think time, but yeah.
Oh, it's been a long time. Huggy Bear saying, well, this is a story that's down the road. As we saw on Raw last night, the draft doesn't matter. Once again. Again, not upset about the match we're getting at Bash at Berlin.
But I understand why, though.
Yes,
I understand why
Grayson Waller and Austin Theory were on the show, though.
Oh no,
I mean, I know they explained it because of what happened at SummerSlam.
But Randy,
I get. All right, don't get me wrong. He is on SmackDown. I would like them to hang on to the draft just fucking once.
But the problem is that if Randy is also on that show with Cody as a top babyface and now Roman as a top babyface,
I don't think Roman's going to be at the Bash at Berlin. Unless they... Okay.
No, probably not. But I'm just saying that it's going to be like a very heavy top babyface SmackDown if you don't have at least one of those people going.
I think honestly, once we get to the end point, if War Games is the end point, whatever, once we get past the end point of Bloodline versus Bloodline, I do think they need to separate Cody and Roman. I think one of them needs to be on Raw. One of them needs to be on SmackDown.
I think separate Cody and Raw.
I would put Roman on Raw.
Yeah,
I would put Roman on Raw.
Give
me Roman and Gunther all day for that title. All day. I did hear this, Scott, as well. I heard some people saying they're going to trade Randy for Jay because Jay and Sammy, if they are to be in that bloodline story, they eventually have to go over to SmackDown to be a part of this. Now, we saw last night on Raw, which we're going to dive into Raw starting right now, but we saw last night on Raw, Sami Zayn mentioned not only does he have a rematch against Braun Baker in a 2 out of 3 falls match on Raw last night, which is going to rule next week, him and Jay are also getting a future tag title shot because they beat the New Day a little while ago. So they're already starting to, we've seen them on TV. Sammy saved Jay from a Judgment Day beatdown a couple weeks ago. They're already doing their part of getting Sammy and Jay back together as a unit on television. They're going to have to hop over to SmackDown to join Roman and Jimmy when that happens. So we'll probably see some switch and eat. All right, let's dive into this Raw, though. Obviously, other SmackDown things that we'll talk about next week when we kind of get the lay of the land on this Friday. LA Knight, the new United States champion, long overdue that he gets his moment and his championship victory. I'm not going to go into...
Not even going to mention his name.
It was a good match. He did well again. That is to be expected. But as far as I'm concerned, that guy can fuck off forever.
He was a fine wrestler. However, he is a fucking douchebag.
Yeah. So that I wanted LA Knight to just squash him into oblivion, but I get it. Money's money. I get it. So it is what it is. And I'm not going to say he's bad to watch in the ring because he's not, but that guy and his opinions can go to the moon. So that happened. Nia Jax, Queen Nia Jax, defeated my girl Bayley to become the new WWE Women's Heavyweight Champion. No, I'm sorry. Is that one on SmackDown is just the WWE Women's Champion, right? The Raw ones are the World Heavyweights. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that match, Drew. I thought Nia and Bailey killed it. I thought
I
they
like the
killed it.
match. I like the match. I didn't like the follow-up afterwards.
Really?
It
I
was
thought
not
I think there's a lot of money in that Tiffy Nia friendship with the Money
I
in the Bank
I'm
briefcase. I think
not
there's some good stuff they could do with that there.
so my thing is that I'm concerned that it becomes Nia Alexa 2.0, where, like,
That's
she's
fair. That's fair.
she's I want it to be that she sees it coming, not that it's gonna be like a
I want
surprise.
Nia Jax to become a babyface out of this. I feel like Nia Jax could. I know she's a monster
Oh, no,
heel,
yeah, she could.
but I feel like with this story, Tiffany Stratton, when it eventually happens, should be the heel, and I think you could really. I think
Yeah,
Nia could get over as a babyface big
I
time.
think so.
She's
Yeah.
very, yeah, like at the press conference, and just if you ever had the chance to like say hi, like she's a sweetheart, just sweetheart, and she's just. I think it could work.
I did not like her at first, but
No.
this new
Oh
Nia
my god.
Jax,
Yeah.
she's growing on me
Since
for
she's
sure.
come back,
So
she has been an A+ player for them. She has done safe in the ring. You know, that was the big, and I get it. Some of it was deserved, but safe in the ring. She's better on the mic. She's better in the ring. She was essential to the build between Rhea Ripley and Becky Lynch heading into Mania. That build does not go where it goes if it's not for Nia Jax. You know, I know they throw the word deserved around a lot. I thought that her champion, even though she beat Bailey, my girl, who I was rooting for, that was a deserved and earned championship victory by Nia Jax. She has been excellent since she's come back, and I felt very happy for her. I felt very happy for her.
yes, I agree. Yeah. I just when Tiffany was there, and
Were you
then
screaming?
I
Do
was
it.
waiting for her to clock her in the back of the head
Yeah.
and cash in.
I'm
And
glad they're stretching it out though. I want to see the women's have her hold it for a while.
I
Like, you
am
know?
too. And don't get me wrong. I'm glad that they're stretching it. I just so in my head, I'm saying, okay, if I'm Nia Jax, I'm not celebrating with a person who tried to come and cash in the Money in the Bank while I'm trying to get the title, because now she's trying to make sure that I don't win this championship.
Yeah.
So Bailey takes her out and she doesn't end up cashing in. Fine. But then Nia's celebrating with her after. I'd be like, well, hold on a second. You just tried to cash in. You tried to take this moment away from me.
Yeah, but maybe we'll have to see what happens on SmackDown, but like maybe Nia didn't see that. Maybe Nia just saw her just come down. She didn't see Bailey. She didn't see her try to cash in. She didn't see Bailey take her out. She just kind of
Right, because her music didn't hit, right?
I think it did. Yeah, it did. It did.
Oh, well,
at least her video popped on the thing. No, but like I don't know. Again, this is why I felt like even though SummerSlam happened for these people, like I want to see where they take these stories on Friday before we dived into what is actually going on with these. But there was a lot going on, but maybe Nia didn't notice that she came down to cash in. Maybe Nia only thought she was coming down to cheer on her new friend. Maybe because after the match, right? Nia had no problem hugging her, celebrate. They're celebrating in the ring for a minute or two. Nia seems like she doesn't even the fact that she's the Money in the Bank isn't even popping in Nia's head there. She's just like, wait, we're friends. We're celebrating, blah, blah, blah. Where at any moment, Tiffany could have just been like, okay.
Yeah, because there were moments, you could see the camera angles where, she's at the ropes, like celebrating with the title up.
Oh, yeah.
Tiffany is like a little behind her, where she could just, take that briefcase and clock her. But she didn't. So I was waiting for it, and then it didn't happen. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm fine that it didn't happen, but I also am like, well, why did she celebrate with somebody that tried to take that moment away from her?
Exactly.
And so maybe we'll find that out on Friday.
Yeah, maybe. All right. So let's dive into this Raw. If you are watching this video on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up. Hit that bell for notification. The more thumbs up we get, the more you share it out, the more you tell the people, the more we'll be in the algorithm, the more people will get eyes on to see not only this show, not only Firmly AW, not only Beards, but everything we do here at Love Wrestling. So give us some love there. Also, go check out our pals at NordVPN. If you're traveling and you don't want to have to worry about Wi-Fi security where you're staying, or just, having your own personal Wi-Fi, the things you're used to that you get at home, NordVPN are our friends who can help you out there. It is the safest VPN you can use. Your Wi-Fi will be safe no matter where you are in the world traveling. For us wrestling fans, you can also change your location. So if you don't want to spend $50 a month for those AEW pay-per-views, or you don't have Peacock, you don't have these things, with NordVPN, you can change your location at any time. And you might be able to get those for a little bit cheaper. Or you might be able to, get the stuff you're used to. Everything's so easy. We all set up our Wi-Fis at home that we have everything where we need it to be. One button here, one button here. Then you go to travel and you're like, Jesus, what's the password? I got to get on this thing. I have to sign in here. I have to sign in here. I got to do this. I got to do that. You got NordVPN. You don't got to do any of that. You just hit one button. You change your location. You bring your home Wi-Fi with you, and everything's the way that you used to. It's beautiful. And you're going to be safe. What's one of the scariest things when you travel? Public Wi-Fi. People can take your stuff. They can, all that stuff. With NordVPN, nah. NordVPN protects you. It is the safest. Check out our buddies at NordVPN. They are the best. Also, our first sponsor here at Love Wrestling, Rich King. Not only is he a great professional wrestler, not only is he a champion, not only does he touch tips, he is a great personal trainer. And RK Athletics, whether you are virtual, whether you are in Edmonton, RK Athletics is the person, are the group you want to reach out to. The best personal trainer. I got lucky enough to, when I went to Edmonton earlier this year, Drew, I got to work out with Rich.
Oh, how was that?
For one day. I was supposed to do it twice, but we did it once because scheduling came into through. It was good. I had not, as you can tell, I don't go to the gym often or as much as I should. But it felt good. It felt good. And he was complimentary. I was like, "You're just being nice because I'm here." He's like, "No, you're actually all right." I'm like, "Thank you." And then I went home and cried of pain. But it was fine. Well, we made it. I'm here. So go check out RK Athletics 1 on all social media platforms. You will not find a better person to help you achieve your goals. So go check them out as well. All right. Let's talk about this Monday Night Raw, Drew, because this one was a special one. Man, what a Raw that WWE put on last night. It was absolutely fantastic. Storylines throughout. It had, and we mentioned at the top, Drew, it had that Raw after Mania feel, man. It had that Raw after Mania feel. There was some real good stuff on this show. We obviously have an opening recap video from SummerSlam to start the show. And then we see the returning Ludwig Kaiser in the ring. And he is here to do his special entrance of the new WWE World Heavyweight Champion, the Ring General, the King of the Ring, Gunther. Gunther comes out wearing a suit, looking like $1 million, looking like a world champion, And he comes up. Yes. He comes out. And he basically just says, "Hey," he introduces himself. He goes over all his accolades, all the things that he's accomplished. And he says, he basically says, "You guys just have to sit back and watch what I'm going to do here as World Heavyweight Champion." I have a feeling he's not losing that belt for a long time, Drew. I have a feeling that he's going to be holding that thing for quite a while.
Yeah, I definitely.
For quite a while.
Definitely.
Yeah. And he says he's just a level above everybody else. So we all need to sit back and watch what he's going to do. He's ready and prepared for everyone. And he says nothing can catch him off guard, and that he is a living legend and he is greatness personified. And then we get Randy Orton. We hear Randy Orton's music hit, and he comes down to the ring. And Gunther actually has a funny line, because he actually goes, once the music stops, he goes, "Well, Randy," he goes, "I have to admit, that actually did catch me off guard." And the crowd gets a little chuckle. Yeah, the crowd gets a little chuckle. Yeah. And then
listen, heels can be like that. I like.
Oh yeah, I like it too, dude. Gunther he's perfect, man. He's a perfect professional wrestler to me, like just the epitome of everything you would ever want in a pro wrestler. Randy says that he's out here to congratulate Gunther. And And then he also said, hey, I have to admit that title looks really good over your shoulder. He called him German. I thought he was Austrian.
Yeah, they're
But
obviously
they
playing
called
up.
him German, and Gunther was going along with it. Like, he was just like, yeah, all right, cool. Yeah. I thought he was Austrian. I don't know if they changed it. Whatever. Either way. He says that title looks good over your shoulder, and that he's a good-looking champion. But Orton can't help but think that he's the reason Gunther has that belt in the first place, because Gunther really never did defeat Randy Orton at King of the Ring, because both his shoulders were not on the mat.
Yes.
Which I think is again, you know how I feel about the draft and SmackDown guys on Raw and stuff like that. But like you said earlier, I do think that this occasion with Randy makes perfect sense, because that did happen. They didn't shy away from it like they used to do. They very much leaned in and said, yeah, this was a botchy pinfall, but it is what it is. Ref's decision stands. So this makes sense.
Yes.
This makes sense.
Absolutely.
Orton then challenges him for a rematch, but for the title at the Bash of Berlin in Gunther's home country. And he says he would love nothing more than to beat him in his home country to become the World Heavyweight Champion. And Gunther says, hey, I accept. I'm a fighting champion. I'm here to take on everybody. Even as a heel, he says this. He goes, no, I accept. Like, I'm good to go. And they shake hands. And as they shake hands, they're both off mic now with the camera. And Gunther, I'm trying to see, I wrote down, but Gunther basically looks at Orton and he goes, I'm ready for this challenge. He goes, but I just want to let you know that I am never caught out of nowhere. That I don't get caught out of nowhere. And Randy Orton goes, that's good. That's good to know. He goes, because this time I don't want to catch you out of nowhere. I want you looking right at me when I do it. I want you staring right at my face, or something along those lines of like, I want to be looking in your face when I do it this time. So I kind of like that. And then they just leave. Randy just leaves.
Oh, man,
and that was it.
Such a great way to start the show.
Fantastic. It was fantastic. I loved it. So we got main event of Bash at Berlin. It'll be Gunther defending his World Heavyweight Championship against Randy Orton. Their first match at King of the Ring, that pinfall aside, was incredible. It was an incredibly good match. I expect this one to be maybe even better than that one. I'm pumped for this, Drew. I am pumped for this.
Yeah, there's something, honestly, this might be my favorite match of Bash at Berlin so far. I mean, we don't know what all the matches are going to be, but I'm really, really excited to see this, because there's just something about these two that's, like, it's perfect. I want to watch them wrestle all the time. Yep. I did enjoy their first match at the King of the Ring tournament, and it's just like, man, there's the aura between the two of them just feels super, super. I just gravitate towards it.
It feels like an all-time fight. Like, I know Gunther hasn't been around that long in WWE eyes, but it feels like these are two legends having this gigantic. It felt that way at the King. It was like, man, like, and I remember talking about it with multiple different people, and I was like, Gunther versus Randy Orton never even popped into my brain before the King of the Ring.
Yeah.
But once I saw the bracket and I was like, holy shit, are we going to get Gunther and Randy Orton in the final here? It was like, this is a match that I didn't even think about, but this is like a legendary fight. Like, this is a big, big deal. These two fighting, and it felt like a big deal. It delivered at the King of the Ring, and this feels like an even bigger deal.
And what I even feel, honestly, truth for me, is that I don't know about you, and I think you saw some Walter matches like pre-WWE, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Not a ton, but I watched a lot of him on the I was one of those guys that was watching NXT UK regularly because I wanted to see him and Pete Dunne. Those are the two guys I wanted to watch.
Yeah. I remember the first ever wrestling show that I went to was Progress. Progress came to New York in 2017.
Was he their champion at that point? He was
not the champion.
Yeah.
But he was facing Matt Riddle for the Atlas.
Oh, that was probably incredible.
The Atlas I forgot the full name of it. The Progress Atlas Championship, I think. Which I got a picture of me with the title over my shoulder. So that was my first experience, and I saw people doing chops, and I heard, like on TV, people doing chops, but that was like a gunshot, a
Yeah.
literal gunshot going off.
Yeah.
And he's just doing them and doing them. I was like, oh my God, this guy's crazy.
Yeah.
He's insane.
Yeah.
That was a great match with Matt Riddle. And then just from then, I was just like really into him. So, like,
Yeah.
to see, and I've seen, some people who are on TV now regularly just because of Evolve. I got to see Austin Theory
Mhm.
regularly in Evolve. I got to see Darby Allin in Evolve. I
Mhm.
got to see a couple of others. And yeah, so like it feels like a special thing to like, hey, I knew this guy before he was even in this major company.
Yeah.
And they're winning titles and they're in big programs with top people who have been established already in that company. So I think now the Randy Orton and Gunther's, like, imagine in 2017 thinking Walter
Yep.
is going to be the WWE World Heavyweight Championship going against Randy Orton.
Yeah. And it goes to say that Triple H, when he signed Walter, because he was Walter in NXT UK, he did not become Gunther until he made the full transition over to North America when he was joined
And the main
NXT.
roster, really.
Yes. The guy was NXT UK heavyweight champion for 800 days. And he was for 800 days. He was the NXT UK World Heavyweight Champion. Then he comes over and he's on the main roster and he's kind of floating around a little bit. And then Triple H kind of takes over and he becomes the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of all time. I would make we just talked about Roman for a whole hell of a lot of time. I would make the argument that Gunther's Intercontinental title reign was better than Roman Reigns' world title reign from a match quality standpoint. To what the Gunther was the best champion in the company.
I mean, from a being their weekly standpoint.
Yes.
Even.
Yes.
Yeah.
And look at how the Intercontinental Championship has been treated since Gunther has lost it. Gunther lost it to Sami Zayn. The IC title has been defended on every PLE since he lost that title. You know why? Because Gunther and Triple H and WWE and the way that Gunther was the guy they needed to make that title matter again, because that title should have always mattered. Because when I was growing up in the mid-90s watching wrestling for the first time, the IC title was even more popular than the world title a lot of times. That's how it was. And then, and Gunther was the guy that established that IC title as, holy crap, this title matters again. And you can see how it goes. Yeah, Scott just says it. Roman only defended his title 32 times in 1,300 days. Whereas Gunther, it felt like, was defending that title at least once a month, every month. He was fighting the whole time. You know what I mean? But now I feel like Gunther's the perfect guy to establish. Because don't get me wrong, that World Heavyweight title hasn't been around for that long. Year and a half, maybe. Since Seth brought it back. And Seth was good, and I loved Damian Priest's run with that title. And we're going to talk about him. And the match that, we might as well. The match that Damian Priest and Gunther had at SummerSlam was very good. But obviously the story coming out of that was not, Gunther winning was a big deal, but the story coming out of that was the turn by Finn Balor on Priest and continuing that storyline of the Judgment Day, which we're going to dive into here in a minute as we continue to run down Raw. But I think Gunther, again, kind of like how they did with the Intercontinental Championship, I think Gunther is going to be the guy that truly establishes this World Heavyweight Championship as not a consolation prize, as not a secondary title. It is going to matter as much as the WWE Championship, and it's Gunther that's going to make it like that because he has that aura. He has that presence. He's a big deal. He is a big, big deal. And he's the perfect guy to dominate as champion, to make it be like, kind of how we were all saying, who's going to beat Roman? Who the hell is going to beat Roman? I think 6-8 months, maybe even a year from now, we're going to be saying that with like, who the hell is taking that off Gunther? Who's going to beat Gunther? Because this guy is unstoppable. And I think that title is going to mean a whole lot more very, very soon with that guy as world champion. And that's not demeaning anybody that's held it before. I just think, I look at Gunther and I'm like, that's a once-in-a-generation type guy right there. That is a once-in-a-generation type guy. He calls himself the living legend. I don't think he is. That's not hyperbole. That's not hyperbole.
I agree. And you know what, too? What I really love about him, too, is that he is a foreign heel, but that's not his character isn't based around being a foreign heel.
Correct.
He's just a bad guy.
Yep.
Who is foreign.
Yeah.
And they never did the stupid, like what they did with Jinder Mahal, what they did with Rusev. They never did this like over the top. I'm German. I mean, they're doing the German thing now because they're going to Berlin, but they never have him with a huge flag behind him.
Yep.
And all the silliness of like, we have to have everybody talks the way that they talk because they're genuinely that.
Yep.
They are foreign bad guys. And it's not, they don't get bombarded with USA chants because that's their character isn't something that you chant USA to.
Agreed.
Like others had in the past.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that because I hated that.
I agree. So then after this little intro, we get Ludwig Kaiser going one-on-one with Sheamus, a rematch from a Raw match they had a little while ago where Kaiser actually ended up hurting his ribs a little bit, and he had been out of action since. We get a small interview out back with Sheamus where he kind of mentions that he's going to go test out those ribs of Ludwig Kaiser here, and he says, and if Pete Dunne gets in my business again, I'm going to take care of him too, because they've been kind of doing that Pete Dunne angle here. I thought these two had another really good. Kaiser is great. He is just, Sheamus is great. We all know how great Sheamus is. Kaiser is really good. Yeah. He's really good. I know he got banged up, but they were starting to do stuff with him solo-wise. Instead of just having him be Gunther's lackey, just that, which he was back to that
by the
again.
way, we didn't even touch on this. What an entrance he gave Gunther.
Oh my God. The best one yet.
Incredible.
The best one. It was the best one. And it makes sense. He's the world. It was the crowning heavyweight champion. It was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. He's perfect for that role. He can do that. He can go. I love this match with him and Sheamus. They beat the crap out of each other again. They were just physical and violent. We did see Pete Dunne try to come out and hit Sheamus with the shillelagh when the ref wasn't looking. Sheamus was able to dodge it, and he took Pete Dunne. He gave him the knee on the outside to take him out. He gets back in the ring. Kaiser goes for his finishing enziguri kick there. Sheamus misses it, gives him a running knee, followed by a brogue kick, and Sheamus gets the victory. Very good match, very good opening match of Raw. They're continuing the storyline with Pete Dunne and Sheamus, which I'm all about. I love Pete Dunne. They wasted no time. Obviously, it's unfortunate that Tyler Bate got hurt and his pec. He's going to be out for a while. That's unfortunate. But Triple H wasted no time in getting Pete Dunne on a solo trajectory and a solo push the second Tyler Bate got hurt. I love Pete Dunne. I love how in the vignettes in the last couple weeks, Pete Dunne blamed Sheamus for the Butch name. I love that.
Yeah.
Even
though
love
he had
that.
nothing to do with it.
No, we know who came up with the name. That's fine. But I love how they played it out, that they were like, oh, I trusted Sheamus and he gave me that stupid ass name. The hell with that guy. I like all of this. Are they setting up for a Pete Dunne versus Sheamus one-on-one fight at Berlin? Let's go, dude.
Probably.
I'm in.
I'm all for it.
And Pete Dunne should win that, but either way, I'm in. I'm in on it. Let's go. I liked it. Good opening match, continuing stories, that happened. That was the storyline of Raw. Good matches, continuing storylines. It was just lights out. So then we continue along, and we get another Wyatt VHS here. This one almost made me cry. They were talking about Baltimore. That's where Raw was. And first and foremost, I know a lot of times we shit on the crowd. That Baltimore crowd last night, way to go. Way to go, Baltimore. And they gave you a Raw that you would react that way. But holy crap, that crowd was hot from start to finish. That crowd ruled last night. That crowd ruled. We get a VHS tape from the Wyatts. Michael Cole beforehand says, there's a lot of history with the Wyatt family here in Baltimore. 11 years ago, the original Wyatt family debuted, and they have a vignette, and it is a wonderful vignette. And it shows Bray, Luke Harper, Brody Lee, Eric Rowan. It shows, it goes back and forth from the debut of that original Wyatt family and kind of with some clips of the vignettes for that original Swamp cult leader Wyatt family. And then it mixes in what we're seeing with the Wyatt Six. And it said 11 years ago in Baltimore, fast forward to tonight, the main event, the Wyatt Six in their first in-ring action. I thought this was a beautiful vignette. And we're going to talk about it more because the main event was later. But, man, they continue to – the way they're layering in the Bray stuff here.
I think we should probably touch on the Judgment Day stuff last.
Okay.
Because that was the big thing from SummerSlam to Raw. So,
I would agree. I thought the way that they've just been doing this Wyatt family stuff is just, for me, the way they're honoring Bray in this, it's even more than I originally thought it would be. But it is. I'm getting emotional every week with this stuff. And, I thought this vignette was really good, showing the history and kind of hyping us up for what we were going to see at the end of the night. And then, a little bit later on, we saw another VHS, and this one was focused on Huskus, Joe Gacy, where they talked about him being left behind, and they tried to put him in a box and all this stuff, and he escaped. And we don't really hear a lot of words from Joe Gacy. He just kind of screams at the camera and stuff like that. Man, it was really good. And this was just the start, because they continued, the main event of the night was a 6-man tag. And we saw that now, we saw a backstage segment with Chad Gable where Ivy Nile and, oh my God, I'm going to draw a blank on her name.
Maxine
Dupree were chatting out back. And Ivy Nile was like, hey, I'm sorry all this stuff is happening. Like, this stinks. Like, I wish it wasn't happening. And we see Chad Gable arrive. And Chad Gable goes, hey, American Alpha, that stupid name, you can keep that. You can keep that music. You can keep all that stuff. We're fine. And he kind of puts his arm around Ivy and is like, let's get out of here, kind of thing. And you can see in Ivy's eyes, she's like, she wasn't.
Yeah, he wants to be friends with Maxine. He did to Maxine.
Exactly. She wants to be friends with Maxine. She's not fully on board with what Gable's doing here and the Creeds. But I thought that was a little bit of a nice little foreshadowing, because the Ivy Nile is going to have a story here in this here too coming up. So I thought that was a good little bit of foreshadowing. And then we see, the main event happens, and leading up to the ring, Chad Gable is cutting a promo, and him and the Creeds are now going to be known as American Made. That is what they called themselves. They had new music. Dude, they look like Team Angle, bro. They walked right out there and it was like, this is literally Team Angle, which I don't say that as an insult. I say that as a good thing.
They're doing the "you suck" chants.
Yeah, literally. Like, Chad Gable has earned the "you suck" chants these last, 3 or 4 months because of his great work. They look the part, the music, the singlets, the fact that they're called American Made. Like, this is the 2020s version of Team Angle, and Chad Gable is the perfect guy to be leading this group. They fit together. It works. So we see them come out, and then we see the Wyatt Six's entrance, and they are using the song Shatter, which I did get emotional, hit me in all the feels here. You see the entrance start, and it has the rocking chair with the lantern on the rocking chair. And in that video with Joe Gacy earlier in the night, they openly said that Bray Wyatt is the prophet of the Wyatt Six. They said that in that. So it kind of tells you that that's where Bray stands. Like, he's the prophet. Like, he's the one that is kind of telling them what, kind of that prophet type deal. So you see the chair, you see the lantern, the music starts, and we hear the piano, and then you can start to hear that it's going into the actual full song Shatter, which was Bray's last song that he used. So that had me feeling all sorts of things emotionally. I was like, oh God, they're using this song. And I'm just sitting here like, oh my God, like what can you, to me, it's just, it hits everything, man. It hits everything for me. And you see Sister Abigail, you see Uncle Howdy, you see all of them come out. They walk to the ring, and then you see Sister Abigail sit on the ground. You see Uncle Howdy sit in the chair. He blows out the lantern. The lights come on, and the three others, Rowan, Dexter Loomis, and Joe Gacy, all unmask, and they get in the ring, and they have a brawl, and the match is on. And I thought it was a very good 6-man tag. WWE knows how to do 6-man tags. Yeah. It was very good. I thought Joe Gacy looked like $1 million in this match. He did a little corner spot where he kind of hung upside down and had that creepy, it wasn't the crab walk or anything like that, but it was kind of along those lines of Bray when he used to do the crab walk or hang upside down in the corner. It was kind of a throwback to that. I thought at one point, I'm so happy for Eric Rowan, man. I'm so happy. Of all those guys, I'm happy for all of them. But Eric Rowan, I mean, Bo, obviously, he lost his brother. That's a big deal. Like, I'm happy for all of them. But Eric Rowan, when they showed that vignette of the original Wyatt, he's the only one left, man. He's the only one left. Mm-hmm. And I am so happy for that guy. And I thought that they made him shine when he did the yeah, and the Brody thing before he did the flip. God. Oh, my God, dude. That made me emotional. They were both doing, the whole team was doing Uranagis like Bray used to do. That's just like, it's the little shit like that, where I'm just like, man, those little touches, you're just hitting me in the heart, man, with it. I thought Eric Rowan should have got the pin, but I focused on the other guys too. I had no problem with how it went down. In the moment, Scott, I did agree with you. I was like, oh Rowan's going to get this pin. Like, this is awesome. Good for him. But I thought either way, I thought it was awesome. They did that pop-up power bomb into the opponent thing. That seems to be going to be one of their finishing moves type thing. And then Dexter Loomis went up for a splash, and Rowan kind of caught him and forced him down as kind of like the finishing move of the match. But the Wyatt Six get their win, and then we see the lights go out. We see all of them get in the ring. The lantern's there, and Uncle Howdy's last. He gets down on his knees, and he does the Bray pose, and he says, "We're here." Mm-hmm. And that's how Raw ended. I know this type of stuff isn't for everybody. Not everybody likes I don't even think this is supernatural anymore. I think it's kind of somewhere in between, because they're using, because they're using human elements, and we're seeing them without their masks, and they're referencing them as who they are as people, Eric Rowan and Joe Gacy, and so they've done this has been perfect for me, Drew, since they've debuted. Like, I was skeptical at first, like, how's this going to work? How are they going to get to them wrestling? Like, are they just going to be wrestle? Like, but I've loved everything. I've loved everything they've done here. It's hit me emotionally. I think it's cool as shit. The visuals. I thought the match last night was great. I want to see Nikki Cross in there wrestling soon. I've loved everything they've done. Like, I felt really good after that main event. I was like, that is really good shit. That is really good shit. And I was feeling it from all angles. Excitement, emotional. I was sad because of Bray. It was fantastic. It was fantastic.
So I think that this is the perfect way to celebrate Bray's memory. Perfect. I have nothing. I really have like nothing negative to say about this.
No,
because
me neither.
Ever since they did the first VHS tape.
Yeah. And you knew it was going different when it was Bo, and you heard, when Uncle Howdy leans in and the first question, the first or second question, he goes, "How did it feel when your brother died?" And once I heard that question, I was like, oh, this shit's gonna be different. This shit, because we knew it was going to be Bray centric, but I don't think any of us knew they were going to go this deep with the emotional part of it. But when we saw Bo for that first time, the first question he asked is like, how have you been since the loss? Like, that's the first question. It's like, okay, yeah. But then that next question, well, how did it feel when your brother died? And once that question was asked, I think all of us were like, oh, this is going to be deep. Like, this is going to go deep here. And they've crushed it. It's been so good.
They really have. And I gotta say it. And I didn't, I was concerned at first because I didn't know. I saw what happened with the Fiend.
Yep.
In the end, and how it was like. But what I really really like is that they immediately established Bo Dallas is Uncle Howdy. They did it in the sit down thing, and Bo and Uncle Howdy are talking to each other, knowing that they are one another.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas there's the separation where Bray was the Fiend, but they never, Firefly Funhouse Bray and Fiend Bray.
He would always turn into him. Yeah, they never. Yeah, you could tell that it was his mind and stuff like that, but they never did something like that where it was like this guy's talking to him. Yeah.
When they did that sit down on the first VHS tape, I'm like, oh, this is going to be a completely different thing than I thought.
Yeah.
And ever since they slowly started introducing all the people,
the Eric Rowan VHS they did was just, man, it's just the emotional side of it. I knew it was going to be emotional, but I did not know they were going to do it in this type of way where like all of us are sitting there and we're loving what we're seeing, but we're also like just so emotional about it because it's still close and it's still not that far ago that we lost this guy, and it's still
that loss will carry through for a long time.
100%. That was a big one. We all love that guy. I don't know if I met a person in this wrestling community that didn't feel a certain way about Bray Wyatt. And we knew what he stood for, and we knew that he was an old school cat that liked telling different types of stories and depth and darkness and creativity and all this stuff. And I think they're honoring him. It's even better than I imagined. Better than I imagined.
Same.
And this is just the start. It's just the start of it. But it's even better than I imagined. I have loved every single thing that I don't, like you said, I don't have I don't have one nitpick, not one I got nothing besides praise for everything that they've done with this. Man, it's been perfect. And I thought last night was the perfect debut for those guys. And I thought, and credit to Chad Gable. And Chad Gable is just one of those guys who is just so good. And he's been so good for such a long time. And credit to that guy. Because he is in a big time spot and he's doing this stuff because he has earned the trust to do these type of things. And I'm excited to see where him and the Creeds go together too. Once they're kind of past this and, because the sky's the limit for them as a group. The Creeds, sky's the limit for them as a tag team. I think Chad Gable, honestly, down the line, Chad Gable could be a future world heavyweight champion. Honestly, that's how I feel about him. He's that good. But man, I thought last night was perfect, Drew. I thought that was a perfect debut to kind of see how this would look as the Wyatts wrestling in the ring. And I thought it was great. We will save all the Judgment Day and kind of match it up and do that at the end. So we're kind of going to be popping around. Here's a little foreshadowing, though. We see in the back, Adam Pearce is in the back, and we see Bronson Reed. Now, we'll talk about Bronson Reed in a few minutes because we're going to fucking talk about Bronson Reed. But we see Bronson Reed show up, and he says, hey, what's going on? It was very similar to how Braun Breaker was complaining a little while ago to Adam Pearce,
Yep.
saying like, "Hey, what the hell?
What are you doing with me? You're not
I
doing
beat
anything."
Sheamus. I beat Sheamus a couple weeks ago. What am I doing sitting on the sidelines? I wasn't on SummerSlam. I'm not here on the show tonight. Sheamus has a match tonight. I beat Sheamus. What are you doing with me? Why am I standing around?" And Pierce is like, "Hey, I get it. It's very busy. There's a lot going on, blah, blah." And Bronson Reed goes, "All right, look, I paid attention around here. I know that if I want to go to the top, I guess I just have to create my own path." And it's kind of one of those things. It's a little thrown together, a little backstage thing. It's like, all right, I'm a big Bronson Reed guy. Big Bronson Reed. I know, no pun intended, but like, I'm a big fan. I'm a bigger dude. I like bigger dude wrestlers. I'm a big fan of Bronson Reed. I do think he's been underutilized since he's been on the main roster. So he says that. As we move forward, we have a little bit later in the show, CM Punk comes down to the ring. I'm just going to say this now, just to get it out of the way. I thought CM Punk and Drew McIntyre at SummerSlam was incredible. I thought the storytelling they told in that match was great. I loved the Seth Rollins aspect of it. I liked how CM Punk had that match won, and because he went crazy thinking that Seth was out to get him when Seth was really being impartial. Seth was being a pretty decent ref. He was letting some shit go like he said he was gonna, but he was being fair. He was not one-sided at all. I thought he was being fair, but CM Punk just could not get over the fact that he thought Seth was trying to screw him the whole match. And Drew was smartly enough kind of putting Seth in situations where Punk would think. Like Drew was kind of setting it up a little bit for Punk to kind of react this way a little bit with some of these things. So it was just very well told. And CM Punk had it won. He had the match won, but he loses his mind. He gives Seth the GTS. And because he's doing all this and creating this in his own brain, Drew gets the one up. He hits the Claymore, and Seth counts the 1, 2, 3. And Drew gets the victory over Punk, and it's Punk's own fault. So I will say that's what happened at SummerSlam. And then I will say he comes out to Raw. I like CM Punk. I like CM Punk a lot. I don't want to see happy CM Punk anymore. I don't need to see the guy that just lost. They had he's been wanting to kill this guy for 6 months.
Yeah.
And he loses the match because of himself and his own fault. He loses the match. And the first thing he says on the mic is that he's fucking happy. Get the fuck out of here. No. That's not the CM Punk I know. That's not the CM Punk I love. I don't want you happy. I want you out there pissed off that you fucking blew it. CM Punk. What the hell?
Imagine after The Rock won the title from him, and instead of coming out screaming and going crazy, this is the day 435 of the most historic reign, blah blah blah. He's just like, oh, I'm happy right
now. No, I don't want to see that CM Punk anymore. I don't want to see it. Not saying I need to see him turn heel or anything like that right now. I do want to see him do that soon. But like, I'm not saying I even need that. But what I do need is you to have a little fucking attitude behind you. None of this, hey, I'm happy to be here. I got the fans behind me. No, that is not CM Punk.
Let me just say, I appreciated your opinion on the SummerSlam match.
You disagreed.
However, I didn't really like it that much.
Really? I thought it was excellent storytelling.
The storytelling is good. I'm not taking anything away from that. However, the bracelet thing is like, listen,
that was a bit too long in the tooth that they did with that.
I have things of sentimental value. I get it. But the way that he was talking about it before the match, of like, oh yeah, it's like $1.10, little shit thing. And they didn't say shit thing, but like he was kind of describing it as that practically. And then the whole SummerSlam match was the bracelet.
I feel like, they did spend a little bit too long. There was like a good 5 to 7 minute stretch of that match where it was like revolved around the bracelet, and it was like, okay.
And the
Like,
finish of the match revolved around the bracelet.
yeah. So
And
that
then
part of it, I could see
Raw,
why.
him
Yeah.
ducking out of the ring and going
yeah,
up
so
the stairs is because of the bracelet.
yeah.
It's like,
So
can we not with the bracelet anymore?
yeah. Well, there is something I do want to talk about when it comes to that, though. So Punk comes out, he does that shtick like, hey, I get it, I lost, and I'm not thrilled about that, but I'm happy. You know why I'm happy? Because, you know, I think we're all happy that it seems like CM Punk got through that match and he is healthy, because he had a bad track.
Oh, well, yeah.
He had a bad run of events here where it felt like he was getting majorly hurt in the last 3 or 4 matches he had been a part of. So the fact that they had that match and he came out unscathed and he looks healthy and he's ready to go, I understand that part of this promo where he's like, I feel, even though I lost, I feel good. I feel like this, I'm finally back. I had my match. This is the start. That was a blood feud, man. And you cost yourself that match. I don't need you coming out smiling and kissing babies, baby. I don't need you
with you,
doing it.
The match at SummerSlam wasn't really reflective of a blood feud.
That I would agree with. They started off, you know, with the brawling and the punching and stuff like that. But I would agree with that. I do think, but again, that once you book at a regular wrestling match, I understand Seth was the ref and he said he would let some stuff go. It's kind of hard to, you know, it almost, and I don't think it's going to be the blow off. There are rumors that Bad Blood in October is going to be main evented by a Hell in a Cell match with Drew and Punk. Those are rumors.
That's going to be great.
That will be
looking forward to that.
Yes. But I thought that, to me, this match was made. It got Drew the victory, which Drew should have won. But this match was made to get to CM Punk versus Seth Rollins. That's what this was. That was, to me, the main thing coming out of that was 2 things. Drew got his big win. And we are now closer to Seth versus Punk, which was obviously supposed to be the match at this past year's WrestleMania. I assume it'll probably be the match if everyone's healthy at next year's WrestleMania. They're just going to kind of try to run it back here. And I thought it did a good job at that. So Punk comes out, he cuts this promo, and he says, all right, I think the people of Baltimore, now I feel good. I'm back. I feel healthy. I think the people of Baltimore are a little less, they want to hear a little less CM Punk yapping and a lot more CM Punk fighting. And he calls out Drew McIntyre. And then we get Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins comes out in all black, wearing huge black sunglasses, all black getup. He walks down to the ring, and before he even says a word, he's taken off the jacket. He's got no shirt on. He's got his wrestling pants on. He grabs a mic. He says, you look like you're in a good mood. He goes, I'm in a good mood. He goes, you're looking for a fight? Let's go. I'm going to kick your ass. I'm going to put you in the dirt. I've been waiting 10 years, and now I'm going to put you in the dirt. And Seth gets in the ring, and it looks like they're ready. And Punk goes, what was Punk's line? He said, I didn't dress up like a cowboy tonight, but I'll be your Huckleberry. And then he throws the mic down. Great. A little callback to Dusty there. And he throws the mic down, and it looks like they're going to go. And then we hear Drew McIntyre's voice, and Drew McIntyre is standing up in the crowd, and he's trying to get their attention. And the whole time, for the first couple minutes, Punk and Seth are not taking their eyes off one another. Mm. And Drew's just talking. That. I did too. And Drew's talking shit, mainly about Punk, but about both of them. And he's even in the promo saying, come on, look at me. You're just going to stare at each other. He's like egging them on. And they will not break. And then Drew says, I got this bracelet with your stupid, ugly dog. And he mentions AJ's name for the first time, which I thought that was the first time that her name had been mentioned by.
Was it?
Yeah. At least the first time I can remember. I don't think they've done it. Maybe commentary has, but Drew hasn't mentioned her by name. At least I don't think so. And they mentioned her by name. And then you can see CM Punk when he's looking at like Seth, he goes, yeah, like he knows he has to go. And he just books it and heads to Drew. Now, because there is a whole second thing that now happens, which I thought was the best thing that happened on Monday Night Raw. I thought this was the best thing that happened on Raw. They pan, so you see Punk just sprinting up the thing. Drew leaves. That's whatever.
And everyone's attention is there.
Everyone's there. The camera then turns around to Seth, and you see Seth is looking in that direction. He turns around, and Bronson Reed just takes him out with like a body splash.
Oh my
and then
God.
He proceeds to give Seth Rollins 6 tsunamis from the top rope. And the crowd is losing their fucking minds.
It was honestly Raw after Mania style. Like a big baby face is getting attacked by a heel, and people don't care.
No, I was losing my mind.
I was losing my mind, and I didn't even care about Bronson.
No. Reed. And then I was like, immediately when it happened, I was like, ooh, Bronson and Seth? You're like, yeah, okay. I'm in on that. That works for me. But then the way that this went down.
It's so great what one moment could do. Honestly, it can just totally change the trajectory of everything.
Dude,
I didn't care about Bronson Reed. I didn't really care about him, honestly. Like,
now you do. Now you do.
Whatever. But I was like, oh shit. I was almost like, yeah, go ahead, do it one more time. What the hell?
Literally. So he hits him, and it was one of those things where the crowd just got louder and louder every time he hit it. Like he hit 3, which I think was probably planned. I mean, I don't know if 6 were planned, but he hit 3 of them, like kind of back to back to back, like right away.
Yeah.
And then the crowd at that point was like, yeah, keep going, dude. Just keep going. Just keep doing it. And he was like, okay. And then he went back up for number 4. Then the crowd got louder. And then he went back up. And before he was even hitting them, every time he went back up, the crowd was like, oh, shit. And it would just kept
and then,
on.
Like, I think it was the 5th one. It
felt like it was over.
One more time.
But
and then he goes up to do it again.
Yeah. Then after the 5th one, he leaves the ring. And he's out on the outside, and the crowd, like you said, the crowd is really one more time. And then all of a sudden, from like the entranceway, he starts going back down, and the crowd's like, oh my God. And he hits the 6th one. Seth Rollins is bleeding from the mouth, coughing up blood. And then he looks like he's going to leave again. And the crowd is losing their minds still. They're singing Seth's song, and then they're chanting one more time. Like, what side are you on? It was incredible. And then he runs in the ring, and he tries to give him a 7th one, but the people in there rolled Seth out of the ring at that point. And I was like, why the hell did you do that 3 tsunamis ago? You let him take
all
6
there,
of them.
like,
you could have just, you were all in there, like,
don't do it.
Roll him out of the ring then. What are you doing? Anyway. Holy crap, Drew. I think our buddy Sean on Twitter, he said that was the best one night heat up of a superstar that I've seen. And I feel like, dude, that was, like you said, Bronson Reed was this fringe mid guy. After last night, boom.
Bronson Reed was nothing to me. Every time he came on TV, I was like, all right, whatever. I'm getting up. I'm doing whatever. Legitimately, I'm not paying attention to a single thing Bronson Reed does until last night. Last night changed everything.
Holy crap. That was unbelievable. That was unbelievable. Man, that immediately I was like, holy shit. I was watching it in Discord with our buddy Josh Robinson, just off camera, just kind of watching it as just 2 wrestling fans watching Raw, and both of us we were losing our shit as loud as the crowd was. We were just like, this is unbelievable. And I said it at the beginning, like I like Bronson Reed. He reminds me of Bam Bam Bigelow a little bit. I know he's had the Bam Bam gear in the past, but that's who he reminds me of. He's agile, he's quick, he can do top rope shit, he can do a moonsault, he can do things like that. He's that type of big guy, and he's been underutilized since they brought him up to the main roster, big time. He's had big wins. He's had big wins, but he's been underutilized. And I liked
his little program at Ricochet.
I did too. And I thought the stuff he was doing with Sheamus when he was kind of involved with Sheamus as well was good. Like he's looked good at points, but they've really just never pulled the trigger on him. Last night, they pulled the fucking trigger on him. Big time. And him and Seth Rollins, I am here for it. Let's go.
Beautiful. It was beautiful.
Oh,
it really was. I never thought I'd be talking about Bronson Reed.
Just tremendous stuff. Oh, God, it was amazing. Last night's Raw was excellent. I thought that was the best thing that happened on Raw. And there were like 4 or 5 things you could tell me what you thought was the best thing on Raw, and I would be like, yeah, I get it. That to me,
he could still be giving him tsunamis now, and I'd be like, one more time.
Incredible.
You know, 14, 15 hours later.
That was incredible what they did with Bronson Reed last night. Amazing. Man. All right. Whew. Goodness gracious. And then we got reports that Seth Rollins was taken to a local medical facility. There were fears.
They didn't say that shit anymore.
No, they said hospital.
Michael Cole was live on TV on commentary, and he said hospital.
Yeah, they say hospital now because that's what they are. So he said that Seth Rollins had gone to the hospital, and there was fear that he might have internal bleeding. So we'll have to kind of see where that leads. But very good. And then right there, CM Punk stormed by Pierce in the back, and he said that he was looking for Drew. And that Pierce said he personally escorted Drew out of the building. And he gave Punk kind of like a pat on the shoulder and was like, he's not here. I promise you he's not here. But like, this will be taken care of. Don't worry. And then we get, for what feels like the fucking 19th week in a row, we got the Authors of Pain in some form, this friggin' group, going against New Day of some form.
Dud.
Now, what happened
until the end?
Match? Yes. So, this match is what we're used to. It's Authors of Pain versus New Day. I will say this. I'm a big Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles guy. That gear on the New Day.
Oh, that looks really
chef's kiss. Donatello's my man, so I was partial to Xavier Woods' gear because he had the purple with Donatello. But I love the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I think I put on Twitter. They show those action figures. They got Roman Reigns as Shredder, bro. I said I'm buying all of it. I'm buying every single one of it. Because I'm a wrestling nerd. I'm a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles nerd. That's right in my wheelhouse. I don't care that I'm almost 40. Go fuck yourself if you're judging me. I don't care. But I'm buying all of it. So I will say that. But this match, whatever, man. Whatever, man. I'm glad to see Kofi back. Glad to see Kofi back. Always glad to see Kofi. But this was it was what it was. The match happened. However, towards the end of the match, as everything is breaking down, it looks like what the hell do they call themselves, this group? The Final Testament. It looks like the Final Testament is going to get another I went into this and I'm like, one of these guys has to turn, right? Like they're going to break up the New Day because why the fuck are we doing this again for the 19th week in a row?
That was what was happening.
I was like, something's got to give here.
Oh
yeah. So this match starts breaking down, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, finally, after being drafted a year ago, maybe even longer than that, we see Odyssey Jones walking down the ring. He has a New Day shirt on. He walks down the ring, and this guy had himself quite a debut here, Drew. This was pretty good. He gets in the ring. Was this after the? Oh yeah, wait, hold on. Was this after the match? Did they already? No, he helped them win. So he gets in the ring, and he proceeds to give splashes to both the AOP guys, and then he gives them a double sidewalk slam, where he picks up one of them. These are big boys. These guys are both over 300 pounds. And Odyssey Jones, don't get me wrong, Odyssey Jones is a big guy. But these are massive men, AOP. And he picks one up, and then the other one walks over, and he just picks the other one up like it's nothing. And he has both of them, drops them both down for a sidewalk slam, which I thought was an incredible spot. And then that leads to Kofi Kingston getting a roll-up victory, and they beat
Xavier.
Oh, Xavier got the win? Yeah, that's right. That's right. Xavier gets the win on Razor with a small package victory. And then the Authors of Pain, they beat Woods down. And that's when Odyssey Jones does the double side slam. And then he picks up Karrion Kross, gets in the ring, and he hits the black hole slam on Karrion Kross to get him the hell out of there. But what we did see, Drew, is in the ring a little bit, but specifically in the back, there was a backstage thing a little bit later with Kofi, Odyssey, and Xavier Woods, and Kofi and Odyssey are super pumped. And Kofi, and what I did like, again, these are the little things that we wouldn't have got out of the old regime. But Kofi says, yeah, I linked up with Odyssey when I was at the PC rehabbing from my injury. I met him. We started talking. And then Odyssey says, yeah, I met Kofi. He was really nice. And he told me that you guys have been dealing with these guys for a while and you're outnumbered and you could use a little bit of help. So I was happy that I was able to help. That is little things that don't really matter that matter to the story. Because those little details would have been non-existent.
Yeah.
In a previous regime. They would have just assumed that we were fucking idiots and that this just happened magically. Those little things matter. Anyway, the whole time, Drew, Xavier Woods is very skeptical, very apprehensive. At one point, he goes, "Oh, I didn't know you two were friends." That's one of the things he says. I didn't know you two were buddies. And you can tell that he's not fully on board with this here. But then the Alpha Academy come in, Tozawa starts dancing, and Xavier Woods kind of turns into that goofy, lovable Xavier Woods that we all love, right? Afterwards. But there was, and even in the ring, after they won, they were all, Kofi and they were all celebrating, and Xavier was still kind of like, yeah, like, all right, cool. There's some story there. There's some story there. I don't know if this is the end of the New Day as we know it, if that's where they're heading. I don't know if this is going to turn into Xavier Woods being skeptical because he doesn't want to replace Big E or something like that. They could use that storyline like, hey, no, it's us two and Big E, man. Like, that's the New Day.
And listen,
I don't like this guy, or I don't want somebody else coming. There's a lot of ways they can go with this.
As much as the Final Testament really is kind of like blah.
They were perfect to set up this, though. This was, you know,
and Karrion Kross in particular, the promo that he cut, I think, a week or two ago, they played it in the video package.
Yeah.
Of like, hey, you know, Kofi is all about Kofi, and that was evident in this match and in the back. Like, Kofi isn't including you in any of these decisions. He's just making friends with Odyssey Jones. He brings in Odyssey Jones. He's the only one talking Odyssey. You're nowhere around this. You don't even know what's going on. So, like, they're using Karrion Kross in a good way to sow the seeds of dissension between Kofi and Xavier.
Yep.
I don't think it means that Xavier is going to end up joining the Final Testament.
I don't either.
But
you never know.
Yeah,
I don't either. I don't know. I want to see where it goes. I'm intrigued by it, but a part of me feels dirty thinking about the New Day breaking up. I feel dirty about that. Am I wrong? I know they've been together for like a decade, but like they just feel like a group that should never break up.
If they're both, we don't know if Big E is ever gonna be able to wrestle again, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But if Kofi and Xavier do intend on staying with the company wrestling, or even if they decide, even if they decide that they just want to, like, I think the contracts are up in 2025,
something like that. Yeah.
So like, okay, do we stay as the New Day forever? The Shield had its time and then stopped.
Yeah. My thing is, like,
Legacy had its time and then stopped.
Can't they still be the New Day, but like go do solo stuff? Does that make sense? Like, do they have to break up the New Day for them to go?
Okay,
like,
so I don't.
Kofi was a world champion. Big E was a world champion. They were still part of the new. Like, does it have to be this? And again, we don't know where this is going. This could end up being Xavier skeptical at first, but then he buys in and everything's happy go lucky, right? This could end up going that way. But like, do they have to always break? Like, I feel this way about the Street Profits too. Like, I want Montez Ford. I like Dawkins too, but I want Montez Ford to be a single superstar. I look at that guy and I go, that's a top of the card guy to me. If they give him the run and let him go, I want that to happen. But like, do the Street Profits really need to break up? for that. They can't just show them backstage once going like, hey, man, we've had a really good run as a tag team. I love you. You're my brother. But we both have individual goals. So we're there for each other. We got each other's back always, but we're going to go do our individual thing. Like, why can't, like, an amicable, why does and it's wrestling. I get it. But I look at the New Day and I'm like, that shit's different. That shit's different to me. Like, they were,
Yeah.
I don't know. Look at, would I be upset? They broke up the heart. They break up all these teams. But like, I don't know. I'm just kind of like,
So like, as you were talking, I was kind of like in my head thinking about this. So I think obviously the breakup of a stable is a classic wrestling trope. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
But I think in the classic way of doing it right, which was, I think the Shield breakup was probably the best faction breakup ever.
it's up there.
In my mind, at least.
Yeah.
My opinion, I think that the Shield's breakup was fascinating, and while, okay, Roman's babyface run didn't really work out the way everybody thought it was going to, and Dean ended up leaving the company after a while, and Seth's run kind of got a little stale as well when he won the championship. I think the story behind a breakup and a classic good wrestling breakup is, for a while now, I, as the guy who's about to do the breakup, have felt undervalued, have felt less than. And as a result, I'm seeing you, my partner, or you, my, however many people are in the group. I see you're doing really well. You get more matches, you get more love.
Mm-hmm.
I see you, the other person, if there's another group, same thing, another person in the group. I'm just like the background guy. I'm the guy that like everybody likes, but doesn't get all the opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
I see sometimes, and this is, of course, this is kayfabe. This is not a legitimate thing. I see sometimes, hey, you two are having a conversation without me. Or you're having a conversation with another wrestler or the GM or whomever. You're having conversations without me. You're not including me in everything. I thought we were a team. I can see, like, so there's like in the Shield, Seth Seth felt that he was not valued as much as Dean and Roman, accepted an offer from Triple H, and then turned on them because he knew that Triple H valued him more than they did in his mind.
Yeah.
So I can see now, and they're telling the story, Xavier feels less than. He feels undervalued. Now, Big E has been gone for a long time, but instead of confiding with him, Kofi's going and talking to some other guy that he doesn't even know. And carrying crosses there, being like, yeah, but for Xavier, it's all for Kofi, it's all about Kofi. And I can see that leading to the breakup. And I think what the breakup of the New Day would do is, because I have to say, unfortunately, I kind of am okay with it, because I think that whenever the New Day is the unit of the New Day of any variation, whether it's all three of them or whether it's two of them, there comes a point in time where it's just like becomes the same thing over and over and over again. And there's never been an actual breakup of the New Day and one of them being a heel going after the other one.
Sure.
Never in 10 years, there's never been that.
Yeah. It's true.
And I'm interested in seeing that. I want to see that.
Yeah. Look at again, I with the way we're seeing things played out and stories played out, like I'm interested in seeing where they go with it. And I don't know. To think of the
I
New
get it though.
Day,
Trust
to
me,
think
I
of the New
understand.
Day not existing anymore, that's crazy. That's crazy. They've been around for a freaking long time, man. It's been over a decade that these guys have been doing this. They're the greatest tag team in the history of at least WWE. Some would say maybe ever. And
Yeah, but I get it.
wild. Oh yeah.
I
And you got to do
understand why
different.
people would want them to continue on and always be that and just have their own singles runs.
Yeah.
But I think there's that human thing that we've all experienced before where you're at work or you're with friends and you think that you have this, you're like part of a team, whether it's a friendship, whether it's a work group, and you go to sit down at the conference table with the rest of the people and you're like, yeah, we've talked about all this stuff and we planned out everything that we said we were going to do, but they just changed it on me and they didn't let me know what's going on here. Like, oh,
Yeah.
wait, it's just like it's a natural human thing. You're going to think like, oh, are they trying to get one up on me? Or it, and maybe not even in that way, but just of like, oh, so I guess they're seeing the friendship differently from me.
Yeah. It's fair.
We've all had this. So it just plays on that human emotion of like, oh, I'm feeling a little bit insecure right now. And as a result of feeling a little insecure, I might make a decision that I may either regret or I may end up coming out positively on the other side of. And that could definitely happen here with Xavier.
Yeah. We'll just have to see. All right, let's kind of do a quick little of some of the smaller things that happened on Raw before we dive into the Judgment Day stuff to end this show. So we did see Lyra Valkyria had a one-on-one match with Shayna Baszler. And Valkyria ended up winning by disqualification because Zoe Stark and Sonya Deville, this new faction that they have created here the last couple weeks or so, they started attacking. And then we saw Damage Control, who are now full-fledged baby faces. They came down to the ring. They ran off that group. So it looks like we are heading to a collision course between Damage Control.
I'm getting
this
into
other
that.
group. I am too. I like it. They need a name though. The Sonya Deville, Shayna, and Zoe Stark group need a name. They need a name for me. But it looks like we're heading to now. Do we think maybe? Everybody's talking about Bloodline versus Bloodline for War Games, which is going to happen. Do we think we could see a ladies' War Games maybe at some point?
We've already seen ladies' War Games.
Wait, and NXT.
Oh, it was NXT, right?
I'm talking on the main roster, like Survivor. Like, do we think? I know it's 3-on-3 here. But do we think that because they just created another threesome faction on SmackDown last week where you had Isla Dawn and oh my God, Alba Fire, the tag champs. They were joined by Blair Davenport on SmackDown, and she helped them retain their World Tag Team Championships. Well, kind of via DQ, they retained it. So they're starting and they're creating another group over there. We have Damage Control. Now we have this group with Zoe, Sonya, and Shayna. Are we thinking really maybe? I do too. I'm thinking maybe at some point we can get a main roster women's War Games match.
Yeah,
maybe 3-on-3 or something like that. You could do something fun.
Or maybe
like that.
I mean, it could potentially be that. Oh my God! Look at my eyes popping. Like what the hell?
Yeah, you can see the white on your computer screen, like on your face, so it's like super bright on.
I know. When I went like that, it was like my camera like did a thing where it's just like my eyes look so blue.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see if maybe because they're baby faces now, maybe Bailey ends up rejoining with
I was gonna say, can you add a fourth? Can you add a fourth to each group, like an ally of some sort? So it's 4-on-4. I don't know. I'm just kind of thinking like, hey, what if Survivor Series, there's 2 War Games matches. There's a ladies and a men's. Because we know the Bloodline's getting one of them, but why can't the women have another one. Now you got these factions, you got these groups. Like, let's see if we can maybe get there too, but we'll have to see. Another quick match that happened, which they obviously had a tease to something that's going to be happening soon, is we saw A-Town Down Under at SummerSlam, friggin' Jelly Roll, and Miz and R-Truth got one-ups on them. Austin, you know what? Everyone's praising Jelly Roll for that one-arm chokeslam. I'm going to praise Austin Theory because that might have been the greatest sell job of a chokeslam in the history of pro wrestling.
Hey,
Although,
we saw
this night on Raw,
we're gonna talk about
McDonough,
a
JD
different
McDonough
one
as well.
That was holy shit. That was
but that
incredible.
sell job by Austin Theory to make that Jelly Roll chokeslam look as good as it did. Wow. And then they did a 15 knuckle shuffle and all this stuff. So we saw A-Town Down Under, who are SmackDown guys, show up on Raw to have this match with Awesome Truth. At some point during the match, Truth lifts up, I believe it was Theory, and he swings him around, and Theory's feet hit Miz. Miz gets knocked out to the ring, and A-Town Down Under actually gets the victory here, which I think is the right call. They get the victory over Awesome Truth, and they showed Miz at the end of the match outside, and he looked very annoyed, very done with it. But then he gets in the ring, and I thought the turn was coming right then. I was like, he's doing it right now. The way the camera was, I'm like, he's doing it right now. He's doing it. Skull-crushing finale. Right now, he's doing it. But they didn't. He looked annoyed, but he ended up kind of hugging and high-fiving R-Truth. But, I mean, it's happening, Drew. The Miz he's going heel again. 100%. He's turning on R-Truth. Which,
another
again...
thing that's like, you know, like we're just talking about with New Day. That's another thing where it's like, as soon as that happens, I'm gonna tune out immediately. Like, all right.
It depends on what they do with the Miz.
Heel again.
The Miz, yeah, but the Miz is a good heel if they do it right. If they do it right and they give him, again, it's not something I think is going to be at the top of the stories on these shows. It's not going to be the main focal point of any show. But I think Miz is a mid-card asshole heel to get people over. At this point, what more does he have to do? You know what I mean? We'll see though. We'll see. I agree. I agree where you're coming from, but I think Miz as a heel works 1,000 times more than Miz as a babyface, and I'm glad R-Truth and him got that. Especially R-Truth got that WrestleMania moment. I'm glad they got that, but I'm ready to move on from the Awesome Truth here. Have R-Truth still be that funny guy that we see, but he doesn't need to be. Especially if you got the rumors, we do the AEW show, and we'll talk about it more on the AEW show, but the rumors are that now the Lucha Brothers are going to WWE. And that is insane when you think about it. Yeah. And we'll talk about it more on Firmly AEW on Thursday because we're running a bit long here, but there are some tag teams that I think can move aside because Motor City Machine Guns is coming too. So you get Motor City Machine Guns popping up at some point. You got the Lucha Brothers popping up at some point. I think teams like Awesome Truth, who they get a good pop, but they're not really focal points of the tag division. I think some of them can kind of move to the side here a bit. The last thing we'll mention before we go into the Judgment Day here is Braun Breaker became the new Intercontinental Champion at SummerSlam. He defeated Sami Zayn. He had a really good backstage promo tonight. I thought it was a really, really good one. He talks about how he loves everybody who walks around back, and they always talk about the titles they've won and all this stuff. He goes, it's been less than 3 years since he's been in WWE, not on the main roster, but in NXT, like just in the company as a whole. He's been there for less than 3 years, and he is the Intercontinental Champion now. And he said, it's not about who's coming after me. It's about who I'm going after, because I'm going after everybody. That whole locker room is my prey. And he goes, and then he kind of shows the side plates, and he goes, you see these side plates bolted into this belt? And he said, there is not a man alive who can take these plates off this belt. I thought it was great. I thought it was a really good backstage promo. Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. I thought without question. And I'm very excited to see this. Because he's another guy where I think he's going to hold that belt for a decent amount of time here too as well. I think he's about to go on a run that is going to
he very well
solidify himself as, he kind of already has as a future player, but this is going to solidify himself as like a main stay. The dude's like 24 years old, maybe even 23 still. I don't know. He's super young like that, man. So I did want to mention that. All right. We're going to end this podcast by diving in to the Judgment Day. At SummerSlam, we saw what we thought was the end of the Judgment Day. The opening match of SummerSlam, which I thought was the best match on the show, was Liv Morgan versus Rhea Ripley, who was accompanied by Dominic Mysterio. I loved how they played this match out. It was a very good match. Rhea's shoulder was a focal point early on, and the way that they had her just slam her shoulder into the announce table and kind of pop it back in to place was gnarly looking, and I loved how they zoomed in on Liv, and you could tell that Liv automatically just got scared shitless the second Rhea did that. It was really good. At one point, Rhea's anger almost takes over, and she's going to hit. This was Drew. This was perfect because they made it. Okay. At one point, Rhea's anger is going to take over, and she's going to hit Liv with the chair. And we all know that in a wrestling match, if you hit somebody with a chair, you are going to get disqualified. And Rhea would have lost that match and not won her title back. So Dom hops on the apron, and he grabs the chair as Rhea is swinging it. And Dom is telling Rhea, you will lose this match and get DQ'd, and you won't win the belt. Do not do this. And I know the crowd was booing and stuff like that, but Dom was doing the right thing in that moment.
Yeah.
He was doing the right thing. He was saying, no. You want to win this belt. You will lose. You will not win the belt if you do this. So no. And Dom was doing the right thing. Rhea gets back into it. And then we see Dom get the ref's attention. He slides the chair in the ring. And I don't think they caught this a lot. If you see it, before when he slides that table, he looks at Liv and he points and he goes like this.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't really talk about that because they waited to the end.
I saw it. I saw that.
So then Liv hits her finisher on the chair, slides the chair out. 1, 2, 3. Liv retains. Then they show the replay and they come back from the replay and Liv is on the ground. Well, first, before that, they showed Dom for a split second and he turned his head and he had a little dickhead smirk on his face. And it was like, you son of a bitch, Dom, you son of a bitch. So then they come back. Liv Morgan is on the ground and Dominic Mysterio lifts her up and plants one on her. And that was a makeout. I don't know. That was a makeout sesh they did.
That was tongue involved.
Sure was. They went in on that. They went in on that. Right in front of Rhea. And you can see Rhea's heart break and just the anger, all the emotions going through her face in that ring. It looked like she was crying whilst wanting to murder them at the same time. And you could mouth her words. She said, you fucked. You fucked.
It almost looked like she was laughing in a moment.
Yes, laughing, and I was crying, like psychotically, I'm gonna murder you guys.
Oh my god,
like I'm gonna kill you both.
Run.
You have no idea what you just did.
Because she is gonna kill you both.
Yes. Excellent work in that opening match. I thought the match itself was very good. I thought it was the best match of the night. And then that storyline was excellent. And then there was a backstage segment on SummerSlam with Damian Priest barging into the Judgment Day hangout, pissed off, looking for Dom. JD McDonough and Carlito scatter, and he grabs Finn Balor, and he's like, where is he? You know where he is. And stuff. And Finn's like, yo, relax, man. We don't know. We just saw that just like you and all this stuff. And and at that moment, I was in the press box and I looked at the people I was sitting at and I was like, Finn's 100% costing Priest later now because they did that. That segment right there, Finn's going to cost him because Finn's going to take that grab personally. So then later on in the night, Priest and Gunther have an excellent match. They were Gunther's chest. Usually Gunther's the one causing chests to bleed, but Priest was every bit the man that Gunther was that night. And they were going back and forth with those chops and those just physicality. And then, hey, Curvin, why don't you go fuck yourself? How about that? So then that happens. And then that match, fucking the guy that's a loser on YouTube typing in chats is telling us that.
Oh, you know that guy?
No, he's just a bum and he can go fuck himself.
Oh, okay.
But I'm just saying, like, he's going from YouTube chat to YouTube chat doing that. But he says that our lives are, it's like, who's the bigger loser here? The guys on screen or you bum?
all right, Kervin, thanks for giving us a view.
Thanks for the view, though. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Appreciate you. So
I got a life. I got a lot of fucking shit that I do. I got a lot.
You know?
Trust me, buddy.
some
I got
people are
lots
just,
of shit.
some people
Lots
are
of
just
shit
like
going on.
this big, and they're like, you know what? I feel bad about my life because I'm a fucking bum, so I'm gonna try to make other people feel like bums. But anyway, so that happens, and then so Priest is gonna beat Gunther, and then we see Finn Balor put Gunther's foot on the rope, and Priest doesn't see it at first, and he sees the replay, and he turns around at the same time that Finn turns around, and they have their face to face, and Finn has his brooding look on him that we haven't seen in a while. And then Gunther choked out Priest, won the belt. And then on Raw, we see Damian Priest come out. And hold on, I have my notes here. Let me get to my notes.
While you're looking for that, what I particularly loved about the SummerSlam match was that I didn't catch it at first, but then I saw he hulked out of the first choke slam.
Yes.
Simply because he wanted to grab Finn by the throat and choke him out.
Absolutely.
That was the only reason why. And then Gunther got him in the choke again, and he faded. And that was like, wow. Like that they really made Priest a superstar in that match. They really did. I mean, he even leading up to it, because I agreed with you from earlier, what you said.
Yeah.
Priest was great with that belt.
Oh my God, he was fantastic.
And I was fully invested in this.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't think Gunther's going to lose. But you never know.
I was starting to go, because in my brain, I was like, oh, no doubt Gunther's going to be a world champ. He's Gunther. But then as it kept going, I was like, Priest has been killing this, man. Like, I would not be against Priest getting a big win and kind of keeping it. Because Priest and Finn, we knew that's the story. You know what I mean? So Priest comes out. He tells Finn, he calls out Finn, and then Finn's not coming out. And so Priest says, hey, you guys might have, kicked us out of the Judgment Day. You might have done stuff like that. He goes, but listen closely. When you're in pain, Finn, when you're struggling, when you're suffering, you need to know that it is me that's the one responsible for the pain. And he calls him out. He says, now you need to come out here so I can give you this beating that you deserve. And Finn Balor does not show up. And another thing that Priest did was Priest also, he said, yeah, the Judgment Day family found me when I was at my lowest, and they allowed me to become, here we go. They allowed me to become who I became. And he goes, however, now that family is not here, he goes, I found my new family. And he kind of looks at the crowd. And the crowd,
great. I really like
the crowd really, dude, Damian Priest over immediately.
And it wasn't like, he's saying that and doesn't get the reaction. He got the reaction for it.
Exactly. And it was just really well done. I thought Priest as a babyface is going to be spectacular. Lou, you got to make up your mind here, brother. I don't know what you're doing. I thought Priest was spectacular. He's coming right back up. You don't care. It was really, really good. And then we see Finn on the screen, and Finn says, I'm not coming out there. He said, you were the one. And again, Finn Balor here, not exactly lying. But Finn Balor says, hey, when we started the Judgment Day, it wasn't about having a leader. It wasn't about one of us being in charge. It was about all of us being a unit, doing the things that we wanted to do together. And he said, and all of that changed when you won the title. Jesus Christ, Lou. He said, all of that changed when you won the title. You started walking around.
And it did.
It did, 100%. He said, you started walking around. You started demanding things. You started acting like you were the leader of the Judgment Day. And that was never the plan. That was not how this was supposed to be. And he goes, so you know what? He goes, I'm not going to answer you tonight. Lou, I need you to get down, brother. Okay? I love you. He said, I'm not going to answer tonight, but JD McDonough will. And he goes, I'm going to answer. I'm going to wait, and I'm going to answer when you least expect it. And he said, So when you don't see it coming, when you've forgotten about me because it's been so long and I'm not even a thought in your mind, that's when I'm going to come. And that's when I'm going to get you. And then he peels back and he goes, with my people. And then you see the new Judgment Day arrive. And it is Finn Balor, Dominic, Liv Morgan, JD McDonough, and Carlito, now an official member of the new Judgment Day with Finn and them. Very well done. Very well done.
I really like that a lot.
Yeah, and I think now with Finn is because I feel like Finn is the leader of this group now. That's the vibe I got last night. And that segment when they all came behind him, I was like, and then Finn's the leader.
That's the beautiful irony about it is that he's bitching and whining about how Damian Priest all of a sudden became the leader after he won the title.
Yep.
But Finn is taking on the exact same role.
Yep. 100%. 100%. And then later on, we have the one-on-one match with JD McDonough and Priest. I honestly wanted Priest to just beat the shit out of JD McDonough, but I understand why they did it the way they did it. But it was a good match between the two. It was back and Priest really did dominate most of it, but it was a back and forth. McDonough got his stuff in. And towards the end of the match, it looks like Priest is about to win. He's about to hit what the hell is his move? Why am I drawing blanks in? What is his move? What do they call his move? Are you kidding me? Are you absolutely kidding me? Anyway, it looks like he's about to hit his finishing choke slam there. And Finn Balor gets in the ring and attacks Damian Priest.
Broken arrow.
Is that what they call it? The broken arrow?
Yeah.
All right. Well, looked like he was about to set up and hit the broken arrow. And then
I knew it had like arrow or bow or something in it.
Yeah, I thought it was something else. But either way. South of Heaven. That's what I'm looking for, Scott. Thank you.
South of Heaven. That's right.
Yes. I was like, what? But yeah, so it looks like he's setting him for South of Heaven. Finn Balor comes in, attacks him, and all the members of the Judgment Day start attacking Damian Priest. And Damian Priest fights him off for a little bit.
The Razor's Edge, I think is the other name.
Yeah, the Razor's Edge.
I was looking at a
different
name.
Yeah. So Priest fights them all off. To the point where it's him and Balor looking across each other one-on-one. They start fighting. He throws Balor out of the ring, and when he turns around, the next person who's staring at him one-on-one is Liv Morgan. And when Liv Morgan is standing there, Priest obviously does not attack Liv Morgan, and Dominic Mysterio takes Priest out in the knee, and then the other three join in, and they are beating down Damian Priest. And then it's really Dominic beating down Damian Priest with Liv in the ring, cheering him on. And then we hear, "This is my brutality." And Rhea Ripley gets a massive pop by the crowd. Gigantic pop by the crowd. She runs down to the ring. She beats the absolute shit out of Liv Morgan. She catches Liv. They're all running away, Dom and Liv. And she catches Liv near the announcer's little thing there that they sit at. And she throws her into the corner. She's beating the crap out of Liv. And then she lifts her up like she's going to throw her on the table. And Dom saves Liv, pulls her down. They run off. And then they get in the ring. And poor JD McDonough is in there with Damian Priest. And Damian Priest gives him the biggest South of Heaven that you will ever see. We talked about it earlier. That sell job that JD McDonough did on this South of Heaven choke slam, whatever you want to call it, one of the all-time best sells ever to a choke slam. He got so hot, unbelievable. And Rhea was yelling at Priest, "Do it! Like, give it to him!" Like, oh man, it was so good. He hit that, and then we get, Damian and Rhea in the ring together. Obviously angry, obviously heartbroken, but they were celebrating the two of them together. I love that I want these two to continue to be on screen with each other. I love the friendship that they built on and off screen with 100%. Each other. And I think moving forward, you got this new Evil Judgment Day. I am all here for Rhea and Priest as kind of the Terra Twins or whatever you want to call them. I know they call themselves that a little bit, but whatever you want to call them, just running through them. And I want Rhea beating the fuck out of the dudes. I want it all. I want it all. I loved it.
I'm really excited.
I loved it. I thought it was a great piece of business. I was like, man.
SummerSlam, the downfall of Judgment Day was perfect. It was perfectly done.
Yep.
You could
100%.
see it coming, but it wasn't like
we
bad.
Could see
it. You know,
it
wasn't like, you know, sometimes, as we've talked about on Firmly AEW so many times, you know, sometimes the predictable thing is what should happen. And it makes sense and it looks great when presented properly. And this SummerSlam, aside from being the return of Roman Reigns, was like a huge part of this year's SummerSlam was Judgment Day and the breakup of Judgment Day. And it was done beautifully.
I agree. And I think this is also a difference in regime, and when a difference in Triple H is there's been a lot of things this calendar year. If you just want to start at the beginning of 2024, there's been a lot of things that have happened on WWE programming and booking that we all saw coming. We all saw Cody beating Roman at WrestleMania. There are certain things that happened here where we all saw coming. We all knew the Judgment Day was going to implode, and it was going to be Dom, Liv, and Finn as a part of it because of all the, you know, the things they've been showing us and stuff like that. We knew that. We knew this was happening, and it's still as exciting and as good. Like they are at a level now where they're giving us what we want and what we think should happen, but they're doing it in a way where it is still exciting. And it is still, those moments are still like, oh, you son of a, or like, oh my God, we knew Roman was coming back. We've been saying for a month that Roman was coming back at SummerSlam. Well, guess what? He did come back at SummerSlam, and that moment when his music hit, it was incredible. And we all knew it was happening. We all did. That just shows the level that they're at right now with what they're doing. And Triple H said it at the press conference. He goes, hey, we're on a good run right now, but if you think this is good, strap in. Because the end of this year, going into next year, it's only going to get better. And that Raw last night, yeah, I believe him.
I cannot wait for SmackDown.
Me neither. All right. We're going to get out of here. Sorry for the late delay in a start. That will hopefully not happen again unless my computer chooses to. But thank you for hanging in. Thank you for chatting. Even you, Curvin, you piece of shit. Thank you for chatting. Thank you for being in the chat today for the debut episode of Firmly WWE. You know, you will find Drew and myself right back here at 10 a.m. on Thursday for Firmly AEW, as we'll be talking about Dynamite and Collision. You know, we're only 2.5 weeks away from All In, or 3 weeks.
Right.
No, actually, maybe 4 or 5. We're close. We're within a month.
I think it's like 3 weeks.
Yeah, we're within a month to All In, and then All Out's only a few weeks before that. So we're gonna be ramping up here.
And Bash in Berlin,
and then we got 31st. Bash in Berlin. So we got a lot of stuff going on. We're gonna be here every Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. for you for Firmly WWE. We're gonna continue to be here every Thursday morning at 10 a.m. as well, Eastern Standard Time for both for Firmly AEW. Good first episode. Had a lot to talk about. Feel good about it. Glad I get to chat with you, Drew, more than once a week now. Let the people know where they can find you, and we will get out of here, and we'll see y'all Thursday morning at 10. But Drew, let them know where they can find you.
You can find me at the Drew Nicholas on Twitter, and I do the Fightful AEW Collision post-show, collecting the super chats and humper chats. So come hang out with Rick Cresta and Iridian and myself for a variation of the three as well, because sometimes one can't make it. It's a really great time. And I am also part of Roundtable Pro Wrestling Podcast. Specifically, Wednesdays we do trivia, really fun, and that's a great time. And then Friday nights, really awful wrestling, where we look at some really bad wrestling and make fun of a whole bunch of stuff. So,
yeah.
All the links, all the good stuff is in the bio on Twitter, and also now you can follow, if you didn't follow it yet, it used to be at Firmly AEW, but now it's at Firmly LW, Firmly Love Wrestling, because that is what we do here.
Absolutely. Y'all know where you can find me. You can find me and the two shows that we just talked about, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 10 a.m. with Drew, talking WWE and AEW. And you can find me on the flagship here at Love Wrestling every Thursday night at 8 p.m. with my partner in crime, Pluggo, for Between Two Beards. We'll have a lot to talk about this Thursday night as well. We'll talk about our SummerSlam weekend, all the things we did there, and we might have a couple guests popping in. Be on the lookout of our socials. So you can find everything Beards related at B2 Beards on Twitter and on all social media platforms. So stay tuned to that. You can find me everywhere at JPJ Loves Gaming. I also stream video games on Twitch. I'm going to be starting that up in about 20 minutes or so. Around 1, I'll be going live there, playing some video games for the afternoon. So come say hi, come hang out. It's always a good time. But you'll be seeing our two faces just a couple days from now, Thursday morning, 10 a.m. for Firmly AEW. Appreciate you all in the chat. Appreciate you all hanging out and joining us for our debut episode today. But until then, you guys know the drill. Peace out.